spine number, another turn of the wheel, as whatever that saying is, of Chasing Labels. I am your host, Andrew Cabral, and welcome back for all of you who have been here before. But for those of you who have not been here before, this is the podcast, the YouTube channel, the place where we talk about boutique label releases for many, many movies from several different companies that you probably have heard of before. Uh, and we talk about a certain period of time in which the announcements do occur. Pretty much the last 2 weeks or so, in between the previous episode and the current episode that you are now listening to or watching or whatever you're doing. This is a podcast that's been around for about 4.5 years now, and we are moving right along, as you can see, with now this is episode number or spine number 176. And yeah, welcome back or welcome here for the first time. It is incredibly tempting every single time to do the Good Morning Vietnam introduction to this podcast, but I resist it every single time because I don't know if my microphone will pick it all up in all of its glory. But let's get into a couple of interesting tidbits before we do get into the announcements, which is what we usually do here. Let's get into movie collection update. Yes, movie collection update for myself here on Chasing Labels. A couple of things. First of all, you would be deadly surprised how fast 2 weeks goes. It goes by in a blip. That's how fast it moves. But I do have a stack of movies here, plus a TV series that I did want to mention. I like to mention them here so then I can put them on my shelf. It's an OCD collecting thing. It also helps me keep track of what I have and what I don't have. But first up here is a comedy starring Richard Pryor and John Candy, and that is Brewster's Millions. And this is a movie I've been wanting to get for many, many years. This is the Shout Factory release that is also in tandem with Universal. I think Universal originally owned the rights. Still does, technically. But a Shout Factory had put out this Blu-ray several years ago, and actually in 2020, yeah, about 5 years ago. The reason why I picked this up, and if you watched the last episode or listened to the last episode as well, I've been picking up a bunch of John Candy films. There's going to be we're going to talk about a John Candy film in this episode as well. I recently picked up Summer Rental, Canadian Bacon. I rebought Uncle Buck on the new 4K. That looks fantastic. And I bought this as well because there is a John Candy documentary that is currently streaming, I think, on Amazon Prime. So if you're a big John Candy fan, definitely check that out. If you haven't seen a lot of John Candy films, there are plenty available actually on Blu-ray and in 4K, more than I thought actually. So I'm slowly catching up on a bunch of John Candy stuff that I haven't seen before, and Brewster's Millions was one of them. Now this is predominantly starring Richard Pryor. He is the star of this movie, and basically he is this pretty washed up minor league baseball pitcher who somehow has this long lost relative who leaves him $30 million in his will. But the catch is he has 30 days to spend spend all 30 million of it, and have no assets behind. Like he can't have a house, a car, whatever. And then he'll get like a big time fortune as a result of that. And yeah, that's what this movie's about. And this has a new interview with screenwriter Herschel Waingrod. It's got a new commentary with William Bibiani and Whitney Seibold. And yeah, this is a pretty solid release, and the Blu-ray looks good. And this was actually relatively cheap. And we will be talking. Actually, it's probably a good time to bring it up right now. So, recent news in the collecting world is that Shout Factory may or may not be going away. We kind of don't really know, but we do know maybe. It's all relatively up in the air right now. What is currently happening, what has all been a buzz in the world of movie collecting, because Shout Factory is a pretty big part of the boutique collecting world. They've been around for quite a while. They've got the Screen Factory imprint. They've got their Shout Select releases. They release TV shows. They release movies, etc., etc. They just started releasing all of the Hong Kong action films from the 80s. They got the rights to all of those films. So we're getting Hard Boiled and A Better Tomorrow and a bunch of those movies, The Killer as well. So people are kind of wondering, hey, what is happening over there? So what has happened, at least from what I've gathered by many, many people that have been talking about it lately, is that Scream Factory was recently acquired by a big old corporate entity, if you will, big old investment firm, a big old thing for quite a big sum of money. So there is a lot of changes going on the business level. That's from what I understand, and those changes that are going on the business level of things are affecting the products, if you will. They're affecting certain things, and it's all kind of crashing together at once. So what is currently happening is Brewster's Millions plus a ton of other Shout Factory, Scream Factory, Blu-rays, 4Ks are just being discounted rapidly in price. If you go check on Amazon right now, you'll find a bunch of them at cheaper prices than you've ever seen them before, which is very concerning because it leads us to believe that, hey, they're trying to sell all this stuff off so that, you know, because they're not going to be selling them anymore. So that's leading a lot of people to, of course, panic buy, a lot of people to worry, a lot of people to speculate, a lot of rumors to happen. So my kind of take on it all is kind of wait and see. We've seen these big business deals happen before with many other companies. We've seen it happen with Warner Brothers twice already. Warner Brothers has been uh, acquired and sold uh, two times since I've been doing podcasting, and people are afraid that if Warner Brothers gets sold again, which it currently may be, that Warner Archive will be affected by that, as well as their other physical media put out, if you will, their other releases and whatnot. So for Shout Factory right now, I guess my advice would also be take advantage of the cheap prices while you can. Um, who knows if this company will go away in due time? I don't know what is changing there. I don't know if they're going to be getting rid of selling directly from their own website. That's a possible rumor. I know they're changing up their rewards program that they started pretty recently. That's a big change that's going on over there. So it's kind of a wait and see moment, but at least as of right now, like I said, take advantage of the cheap prices if you've been wanting to get some 4Ks, some Blu-rays that are cheaper than they've ever been before. I've seen 4Ks that are like $12, which they're usually never that price. So that is currently happening, and coincidentally, I do have um, some other Shout Factory things that I did actually buy as well. Next up here is something I did talk about recently that I wanted to get is the Decline of Western Civilization collection. Sorry for the glare for those of you watching on the live stream or those of you watching in the replay. The glare is always there. I know that rhymes, kind of poetic, but this is the Penelope Spheris 3 documentary collection. It has the Decline of Western Civilization, and it has the Decline of Western Civilization Part 2, which is the metal years? Yeah, the metal years. Sorry, I couldn't read that font. Then it has the Decline of Western Civilization Part 3. It has the Decline of Western Civilization Collection bonus disc, and it as well as a small booklet in here too. And I remember seeing this of all places years ago at Best Buy, and and I didn't know what it was at the time. To be straight with you all, I've since seen all of these, and I've since really, really, highly recommend all of these to everyone. These are great documentaries. The first documentary, and these are still wrapped in plastic. I literally just got this yesterday. The first documentary is all about the punk rock movement of the late 70s and into the 80s. The second documentary here, part two, is all about the metal rock scene of the 80s. And you've got a lot of people in here that you will recognize, like, Steven Tyler, Alice Cooper, Ozzy Osbourne, pretty much everybody you'll know from 80s metal if you're familiar with 80s metal. Then the third film is actually completely different, and I find to be actually the most interesting part is it's a movie about a social commentary of the true punk aesthetic. And this is kind of about the fans and specifically youth culture that has been taken with the punk rock scene, the metal scene, and it's mostly a movie about really about outcasts. It's a movie about young people specifically, who have been shunned and who have been kind of ostracized by their family and society in general, and just kind of their plight and their struggle. It's a great companion piece with the Penelope Spheris film Suburbia, which is coincidentally also put out by Shout Factory as well. That's a great film. I've become a big fan of Penelope Spheris over the last several years since watching these documentaries. And come to find out, she also did the movie Wayne's World, the first Wayne's World film. And I was thinking about that earlier, how that's kind of her only really big foray into Hollywood filmmaking was Wayne's World, because Wayne's World 2 is not directed by Penelope Spheris. And I remember years ago, I was watching a clip from, I think it was, I forgot what show it was. The oh, it was an interview she was doing where um she was talking about, how she got really, really tired of the whole Hollywood movie scene very, very quickly, and how she kind of left it, came and went very, very fast for her in her career. This is a really difficult, tight box to get this booklet back in. Okay, here we go. There we go. So here is the Decline of Western Civilization collection. For some reason, I thought this was out of print, but it's not. And this was on sale currently in this whole Shout Factory hullabaloo sale that's going on Amazon. So I was glad that it happened to be a fortuitous time for me, because I've been wanting to pick this up for a very long time. Let me see actually when this came out. So this box set came out, I want to say, about 10 years ago. Let's see. Yeah, 2015. So I would have seen this in store at Best Buy in 2015. That's how long ago it was. Wow. Okay. So I've got that. Oh, a couple of other things here. So we recently talked about the loss of Diane Keaton. We talked about the loss of Diane Keaton, I think, on the last episode of Chasing Labels. And like what is done when many celebrities pass away, whether it be um, movie actors, actresses, directors, producers, um, people in the music industry, artists of any kind, there is a mad dash to buy their stuff. And I fall victim to it every single time. So I picked up Looking for Mr. Goodbar, the 4K UHD release from Vinegar Syndrome, which is which actually was currently available, but I think it's sold out by now. Let me actually go check on the Vinegar Syndrome website. This I think I when I bought this, there was like 100 copies left, and this was obviously a little while ago. Let me see. So, Looking for Mr. Goodbar, and this is one of their more recent releases. Yep, it's the only standard editions left. Okay, so only standard editions left on their website. Either way, you have to go, of course, to eBay, Orbit DVD, Diabolic. Check out those retailers if they have them. But this did come with the replacement disc. So there was an issue, and there had to be a replacement disc uh, of issued for this because of some type of playback issue. I think when you were watching the movie in Dolby Vision, it was freezing or something like that. There was some type of issue with that, and so this did come with the replacement disc already with it, which is really, really nice, because I hate having to, like, send an email, file, write over, fill out a form or something like that. And yeah, so this comes with, like I said, replacement disc. Well, this is the old disc, actually. I've already replaced it. And this is actually what this looks like. Typical kind of Vinegar Syndrome, if you've seen it. It's got their exclusive slipcover, which is always sturdy. It's one of the thicker slipcovers you will ever see. Standard 4K case here, all black. Credits and stuff on the back. And then here is the two discs on the inside. You get the Blu-ray and you get the 4K. And that is Looking for Mr. Goodbar. This is a movie that, like I said, when we talked about it, when it was announced, uh, highly anticipated, much wanted for many, many years. And I think the reason being why it took so long is music rights. This was a movie that used a lot of 70s music because it was made during the 70s. And to clear those music rights now apparently would have cost way too much. So that took some time and some doing, I guess, to accomplish. And so that is Looking for Mr. Goodbar. And then I got a Warner Archive release of The Little Drummer Girl, which is something we also talked about here on Chasing Labels when it was announced. And this is a movie by George Roy Hill. And I get George Roy Hill and Walter Hill confused. Completely different filmmakers who did completely different movies. George Roy Hill directed like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. And I believe George Roy Hill also directed The Sting. So obviously, two Paul Newman and Robert Redford team up films, and George Roy Hill, completely different director than Walter Hill, but their careers kind of overlapped a little bit. Like this came out in the '80s. Walter Hill was doing movies in the '80s, so I get them confused. Same last name. This is based on the novel by John le Carré. It is a bit of a spy film, and I haven't seen it yet, so I can't really comment too much on it, other than Diane Keaton is in it. And yeah, so that's those two. Let's see, what else do I have here? Some mainstream releases that I picked up. Let's see. I'll grab these. Let me put these here. So the new Mission Impossible film that came out this summer finally came out on home video. So I went and picked that up at my local Walmart. Kind of my local Walmart is the only place that is close to me that is selling movies, unfortunately. So this is technically the last Mission Impossible movie. Uh, I wouldn't hold my breath on that notion because I feel like money always talks in this case, and there could very well be another one in due time for all we know. But this is the new one, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. I also got um, Fantastic Four: First Steps as well. I'm way behind on getting all the MCU stuff, so I've got to go and do that soon, but they're hardly ever on sale, and I always want them with the slipcover. And the older releases with slipcovers are very expensive sometimes, and I don't want to spend a lot of money for movies I technically already have in my collection. That's another thing about collecting. Sometimes you make those little decisions, and for some reason, the slipcover for this release was really tough to get. If you ordered it online from certain places, you didn't get a slipcover, but if you went to Walmart, they had a slipcover. I don't know, but last here is a release that I think came out 2 years ago. I think this was during um, Warner Brothers was celebrating their 100th anniversary, and this is The Fugitive with Harrison Ford. This is a great thriller from the 90s. I'm sure many of you have seen it before. I'm sure many of you have it in your collections. And this was a movie that desperately needed a remastered upgrade, whether it be 4K, whether it be Blu-ray, but it needed it because I think the old Blu-ray had been around since like the late 2000s. Let me actually look this up so I'm not just making up guesses here. So, The Fugitive, that Blu-ray came out in 2006, and it was the same disc that they just repackaged over and over again in different packaging, different cover art, and it was the same transfer, the same exact transfer. So this 4K is kind of a revelation. It looks so much better than that old Blu-ray. It goes to show you just how better the format of 4K is than Blu-ray at times for older releases, especially for older Blu-ray releases. For me, that's the big advantage of 4K over Blu-ray is we not only have better remastering capabilities, better authoring for discs now, but we have a format that is able to show off how better it can be. Not that I have to sell people on 4K, but whatever. Couple of other releases here. As I finally got Hereditary. I have never had Hereditary. I just don't have a lot of Ari Aster in my collection at all, actually. I don't have Midsommar. I don't have some of his newer work. I know Eddington just came out. I have to get that. I have to get the movie that he did. Beau is Afraid. I don't have Beau is Afraid, so I went and got Hereditary. Figured I'd start at the beginning. Why not? So I got this on eBay, and then I also actually no, this wasn't eBay. I bought this on a Whatnot auction. So on the Whatnot app, people do live auctions, and I was able to snag that. Then I got the remake of Candyman, the film by Nia DaCosta. This was a movie that had such great marketing when it came out. It was a screenplay by Jordan Peele. I think Jordan Peele was a producer on it as well. And Nia DaCosta, I think, really directed the film rather well. This was one of the movies that came out during the COVID times, the COVID shutdown time. So it did not get the rollout that it probably would have gotten had it come out during more normal circumstances. And I remember the marketing for this, the teaser trailer, the teaser marketing for it was excellent. And I think the movie itself is actually not bad. But yeah, that's Candyman. And then I think last but certainly not least is a big release that I've been wanting to get all year. and that is the Bewitched seasons 1 and 2 Blu-ray box set from Imprint. Now, Imprint not only does movies, Imprint also does a lot of TV stuff, and their TV releases are phenomenal. They are really, really good, and they've done quite a few of them. They just announced a couple of them actually, and I know our friends over in Australia, Tony and John, they collect them. I know Tony does. I think Tony has all the Bewitched box sets right now, and this is how you do it. Okay, this is elite release here. Not only is it obviously you can see gigantic here, so you know there's a lot in it. The way in which it's laid out is so much better than what we get here for Blu-ray sets nowadays. Like all you get everything in individual cases. You get everything on its own like hub in each disc. I'll just pull out one of these because they're all like kind of laid out the same. Like I said, each perfect Blu-ray case. This is season one, part one. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 discs. Disc trays. I say this now, the lost art of disc trays. I didn't know I would miss disc trays so much, but here you go. That's kind of how these are all set up individually. This also comes with a hardcover book as well, a nice hardcover book. This is an expensive set. I'm not going to lie to all of you listening or watching. There is a reason why this will cost you a pretty penny, because it is a rather deluxe set. Also, lovely hard box. You know, it's pretty solid here. I still have to track down and get. They have the whole series actually out right now. They've got a season 3 and 4 box set. They've got a season 4, 5 and 6, and then 7 and 8. So I've got to track them down. But I wanted to snag this as soon as I could because this was sold out from the Imprint store on their website. Yeah, so I wanted to snag this as soon as I possibly could before it became super collectible. And we're talking astronomical prices on eBay. But luckily, I was able to get this. And for those of you who've been watching long enough, or for those of you who haven't been watching, one of my main passions for collecting, at least one of my major starting points for collecting in the 2000s, was TV shows on DVD. Specifically, classic beloved shows on DVD, things that I grew up watching when I was a kid, whether it be animation, whether it be shows that were classics, you know, things that were on Nick at Night, things that were on TV Land, stuff like that. And we are slowly but surely, I say this every time, slowly but surely, we are getting really good Blu-ray release, or at least just getting Blu-ray releases of those shows. It's taken a while. They've many of them have been available on DVD for years, but I figured I'm going to hold out for the Blu-rays. Hopefully, we will get them. I just got I showed off last time the complete series of I Love Lucy. Now I'm going to try to get the rest of Bewitched. I Dream of Jeannie is another one from Imprint that I want to get my hands on. I would have loved had they done I Love Lucy, because the I Love Lucy set has certain issues that kind of really bother me, but for the price I paid for it, that kind of washes away a little bit. But that's I Dream of Jeannie. I can now put that away. And now we can get into what we're all getting into here as for those of you tuning in. So let me prepare pretty quickly now that I've gotten all of that out of the way. Let me set up here. Okay, so some comments here before we go. Acres of Movies says, hi, thanks for the program. You're welcome, Acres of Movies. Glad to see you once again. Excited for Great Outdoors. Any new features? We will talk about it. But unfortunately, all they did was announce the Great Outdoors, that it's coming, and they didn't give us a date. They didn't give us special features or anything like that. So all it was an announcement. Is Chain Reaction the Keanu one? No, Chain Reactions is a documentary. We'll get to it when we get to Umbrella, I think it was. Yeah, when we get to Umbrella. Chain Reactions is a documentary about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it's told in segments where there are certain individuals talking about it, how it's influenced them, and talking about their thoughts on it. It's Patton Oswalt, Stephen King, Takashi Miike, Karen Kusama, and there's one more else in there. We'll get to it when we get to it, yeah. But let's see. I I don't know if they're going to do. Anchors of Movies asks if there's going to be a Bruce Willis biopic. Maybe one day. Maybe one day there will be. I've obviously, many of you are well aware of his health now and not being so great and whatnot. So who knows what his family will do later down the line when it comes to anything like that. Um, let's see, go-to stunt show for Matrix or Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think you have to go to the Matrix because the Matrix really put stunts on the map in a new way that we hadn't quite seen before with its wire work and all of that stuff. Coincidentally, the stunt people or the stunt coordinator for that went on to direct movies. Ironically so. So let's get into what we talk about here. Let me take a gander at my notes. And we will be talking about Criterion later on. We will be talking about Kino. We may actually start with Kino. You know what? I think that's what we will do. So hold on. So let's start off with Kino, actually, because it's the first tab I have up here. And there's actually not much Kino to talk about, so hopefully we'll be able to get through it. And a couple of things on here with things we've already announced before, we've just got more details from it. So first up here is the movie Walking Tall. Now, this is not the original with Joe Don Baker. This is the remake with The Rock Dwayne Johnson from 2004. Now, I remember seeing this movie in 2004 in the theater. I was 16. No, I was 17 probably when this movie came out. And I remember going to the movies with my dad to see this movie. I had no idea there was an original, that this was a remake. This was at the time where The Rock was really making his transition from wrestling to movies. He had done Scorpion King by this point. He had done The Rundown, I think 2003. And then I think this was when he was doing Walking Tall. Then after this, he would do a couple of other movies, and obviously he's still working today. But he would do a couple other movies, go back to wrestling, do more movies, go back to wrestling. It's kind of what he's doing now, actually. But anywho, this was an early movie from The Rock from 2004. Um, let's see. Let me read. Where are you? There. I lost my tab. There it is. So this is getting let's see. When it comes to laying down the law with a vengeance, one man can make a difference. Superstar Dwayne The Rock Johnson takes no prisoners as he fights for justice and crushes corruption in this bone-cracking, adrenaline-pumping action adventure inspired by a true story. Okay, so recently the true story took a bit of a twist. Took a bit of a twist. I will get into that. So when decorated officer Chris Vaughn, Dwayne Johnson, returns to his hometown in the state of Washington to find work, he finds that the lumber mill has closed and the town's big business is now a crime-ridden casino run by one of his old schoolmates. Aided by his loyal friend, who's portrayed by Johnny Knoxville, and armed with a 2x4, Vaughn decides to take matters into his own hands and clean up the town's corruption in this action movie lovers feast. So it's one of those where like vigilante justice. Well, it's not quite vigilante because I think he ends up becoming the sheriff or something or a lawman, and he ends up trying to clean up the town that way. But he's got to do it through dirty means now and whatnot. If I remember correctly, he has got to combat dirty corruption with dirty tactics. It's a fun movie. I honestly haven't seen it in 20 years, so I couldn't say if it's good or not. I will say though, The Smashing Machine, which is The Rock's newest film, directed by Benny Safdie, I thought was rather good. Actually, I think it's the best performance we've ever seen from The Rock in any movie. It's also rather different than what we're used to seeing from him, which I thought was really great. I think his performance, and I think the performances overall in the movie are better than the actual movie itself. It's one of those for me. So if you haven't seen The Smashing Machine yet, the Benny Safdie film with The Rock, check it out if you haven't. So let's see what we have here for special features. We've got brand new HDR Dolby Vision Master from 4K scan with 35mm original camera negative. New audio commentary by film journalist Brandon Stroznik. Audio commentary by Dwayne The Rock Johnson himself. Audio commentary by director Kevin Bray. The DP Glenn McPherson and editor Robert Iverson? Iverson. And then the second disc, which is the Blu-ray, has all of that plus Fight the Good Fight featurette, deleted scenes, alternate ending, gag reel, and then theatrical trailer. And the reason why I said like based on a true story and things have changed recently, because I think the true story of it all has changed dramatically recently. I would have to look it up, but do so on your own. Do so on your own. Next, we have a bit of a, I would say, modern cult classic, but movie's damn near 20 years old. Is Nacho Libre, starring Jack Black. Now, I remember when this came out in 2006. I was, oh, how old was I? 19. So I was still roughly in high school, and the kids loved this movie at that time. People who were teenagers around that time loved Nacho Libre. It was one of those where it was like Napoleon Dynamite, Nacho Libre, these weird, quirky comedies from the 2000s that just grabbed a hold on people. Let's see. Let me get to yes, a comedy dynamo Jack Black stars as the sweet-natured Ignacio, a disrespected cook at a Mexican monastery that can barely afford to feed the orphans who live there. Inspired by a local wrestling hero, he decides to moonlight as the not-so-famous luchador Nacho Libre to earn money for the monastery. Not to mention the admiration of his forbidden love, the beautiful nun sister Encarnacion, and directed by Jared Hess, who directed Napoleon Dynamite. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense why this movie feels like Napoleon Dynamite. It's got that weird, quirky comedy. Okay. Nacho Libre serves up endearing, ridiculous fun from start to finish with music from Danny Elfman, um, Los Lobos, Beck, and Jack Black, and more. Okay, I remember this. I also remember. Do I have this movie? I don't know if I do or not. I'm looking over at my comedy section, and my vision is so not great to the point where I can't tell if I have it. I may. Either way, this movie on Blu-ray was in so many bargain bins over the years that it was readily available for dirt cheap. But now it's getting a 4K UHD release from Kino Lorber, as well as a Blu-ray too. But let's see what's on those discs. So on disc one, which is the UHD disc, we've got a HDR Dolby Vision Master from a 4K scan of the 35mm original camera negative. Audio commentary by Jack Black, writer-director Jared Hess, and co-writer/producer Mike White. And then on the second disc, the Blu-ray, we have the movie, of course. We have that same audio commentary. Then we have Enter Sister Encarnacion, new interview with actress Ana de la Reguera, Detrás de la Cámara featurette that is 30 minutes long. Wow. Jack Black Unmasked featurette, Exterior Hacienda Night featurette, Interior Lucha Libre Ring Night featurette, Lucha Libre featurette, Hensho on Mexico featurette, Movie Phone Unscripted with Jack Black and Hector Jimenez featurette, Jack sings behind the scenes La Canción de Ramses, La Canción de Encarnacion, 3 deleted scenes, 3 promo spots, theatrical trailer, 5.1 surround, and lossless 2.0 audio. So I'm guessing the same audio that was from before, but that makes sense. Okay, that is Nacho Libre. Now, this is coming out December 9th. I forgot to say when Walking Tall is coming out. Also December 9th. Okay, so these will be like December releases for Kino. That makes a lot of sense. Let's see, Kino was running a sale recently, which they promoted the heck out of on their Facebook page. Let's see. So Dan Curtis's Gothic Tales is coming out December 9th. We've talked about that like too much. But this is what I wanted to talk about now. And we talked about this recently because this was recently announced a couple of weeks ago. And we talked about it briefly here on Chasing Labels because at that time, they had only announced that, hey, it's coming. But now we know definitively when it is coming. So on December 16th on 4K UHD, we will be getting the Pink Panther films, the one starring Peter Sellers, on individual 4K UHD releases. So, and each disc will be coming with special features, and I do have the special feature list here somewhere if I can find it. Yeah, here it is. So, upcoming 4K Blu-ray releases of classic Pink Panther films detailed. Now, for those of you keeping track at home, and for those of you who are big fans of these movies like I am, I've had them on DVD, I've had them on Blu-ray. About 5 years ago, I did a Blu-ray review of this release from Shout Factory. This is now obviously out of print since Kino has the rights to the movies. The Kino is also releasing them on Blu-ray as well as 4K UHD. So whatever format works for you, you can get these releases. But this is now out of print, and I've um, had this for years. Like I said, I did a review here on the channel about 5 years ago. I still have my Pink Panther stuffed animal here that I use as a prop during that review. I still have him around, and I've had this since I was a little kid. I can't even remember where I got this from. Um, but anywho, I had this in a closet, brought him out. I've had him standing up around here since then, and I just grabbed him for the just to use as a prop once again because this is my current Pink Panther movie setup now. So this release here has a movie that the Kino release does not have. So the Kino release does not have Trail of the Pink Panther, at least from what I've seen. So it's got all of them except for Trail of the Pink Panther. Now, that's not a huge loss because Trail of the Pink Panther is not really a movie. It is and it isn't. So what the Trail of the Pink Panther is it's more of a tribute to Peter Sellers and the character of Inspector Clouseau, utilizing previous scenes from other movies and utilizing deleted scenes from other movies in the series, and then putting them together and creating kind of a narrative around it. This idea that Inspector Clouseau goes missing, and then they just use like clips, like I said, clips from deleted scenes, clips from the other movies, and they put them together. From what I also understood is that at the time, Peter Sellers' family was not too happy that they did that. So I think that led to some type of legal dispute. So hence why probably Trail of the Pink Panther is not included here. But what is included is all of the movies that you really, really want to see. This has the Pink Panther. It's got A Shot in the Dark. It has Pink Panther Strikes Again, Revenge of the Pink Panther, um, yeah, Revenge of the Pink Panther. No, it should have. Well, hold on. Because there's one missing. There's another one missing. It doesn't have Return of the Pink Panther, at least not on this press release. But let me go over to Kino's site and take a look. This kind of thrown me for a loop. So, all right. No, but what's crazy? Okay, so there's two different things going on here. This is why this is taking me for a ride. So, oh, okay. So, coming on December 16th, you will individually the Pink Panther, A Shot in the Dark, The Pink Panther Strikes Again, and Revenge of the Pink Panther. Now, what is missing is probably the most people's favorite one is Return of the Pink Panther is not coming until early 2026. All right, so that's the one that's missing in this group so far. So that's coming later. Gotcha. All right, so that's why there's no link here to that movie, and there is no list of special features for it yet because they technically haven't really announced it, or it's coming next year. All right, so that's why this threw me off. So let's take a look at what we will be getting on December 19th, or December 16th, rather. Sorry. So on December 16th for the Pink Panther. And if you've never seen these movies before, I recommend them higher than you would ever believe. These are some of my favorites. I love the Pink Panther series. I love the animated series. I love the movie series. The modern movies with Steve Martin weren't great. They're not great. There were movies that were done in the 80s after Peter Sellers passed away, where it was like Son of the Pink Panther movies. I have them. They're not great either. Peter Sellers really embodied this role of Inspector Clouseau, and he was the reason to watch this series. They even did a movie during his lifetime where I think Alan Arkin, Alan Arkin played Inspector Clouseau, and it just wasn't the same. It just wasn't the same. So we have the Pink Panther, 2 disc set. So the 4K set is a 4K restoration from the original Technorama camera negative, Dolby Vision HDR as well. It's got audio commentary with the director and co-writer Blake Edwards. And then disc 2 is a 4K restoration from the original Technorama camera negative. Um, and then it's got an audio commentary, like I just said. And then we have the Pink Panther story documentary, the Behind the Feline featurette. We have The Coolest Cat in Cortina, a conversation with Robert Wagner. We have an Italian Indian, the Pink Panther princess with Claudia Cardinal featurette. We've got Diamonds Beyond the Sparkle featurette. We've got The Tiptoe Life of a Cat Burglar, a conversation with former jewel thief Bill Mason featurette. And that is it. Now, how does that compare to the Shout Factory Blu-ray release? It has all of the same special features. It has all of the features that are on here. And maybe even more, actually, because it doesn't look like it has the an Italian Indian, the prince with Claudia Cardinal, but it has everything else. All right, so then we go with the sequel, which is A Shot in the Dark from 1964, and let's see, 4K restoration of the original camera negative, Dolby Vision HDR, audio commentary with Jason Simos of the Peter Sellers Appreciation Society. The Blu-ray, of course, has the movie with the 4K restoration. It's got the same audio commentary. Back to the Star origin of the Pink Panther with Walter Mirisch, Blake Edwards and Julie Andrews on the Dick Cavett Show. And that's it. But that is more than the Shout Factory release has, because the Shout Factory release has nothing. I'll be honest, outside of the first movie and the fourth movie, there's nothing else in the way of special features. Hold on. So, Return of the Pink Panther, which is not coming out in December, that's coming out next year. So I don't have any special features for that. And then for Revenge of the Pink Panther, or see, the Pink Panther Strikes Again, there is a new 4K restoration from the original camera negative, Dolby Vision HDR presentation of the film, audio commentary with Jason Simos of the Peter Sellers Appreciation Society, and then the Blu-ray disc has the movie with the restoration. It's got the commentary. Then it has Panther Musings: A Life in Films with Leslie Ann Down, a cut above editing the Pink Panther films with Alan Jones featurette, Clouseau, the greatest fumbler in the world featurette, and then theatrical trailers, TV spots, radio spots, etc. So the old Shout Factory release doesn't have. Actually, only has a new interview with actress Leslie Ann Down. That's the only one that carries over. So the Kino release has much more going on. And then for Revenge of the Pink Panther, the Kino release has a new 4K restoration of the movie, Dolby Vision HDR. It's got an audio commentary of film historian William Patrick Maynard. And then for the Blu-ray disc restoration of the movie, same commentary. And then just theatrical trailers, TV spots, and radio spots. And yeah, the Shout Factory release didn't have anything other than theatrical trailers. And then, like I said, Trail of the Pink Panther is not part of the Kino releases. So there you go. I'm just curious if there's a bonus disc here. I haven't looked at this set since I did that review. So no. I'm just curious if Kino also has the rights to Trail of the Pink Panther, if they don't. It's not a huge deal for many, but if you're a completist like myself, you kind of want it all, even if it's a hackneyed version of a tribute movie, if you will. So let me move that aside. Okay. Let me move this guy aside as well. Actually, let me move him over here. So that is it for the Pink Panther releases that we're going to be getting in December. What's interesting is this keeps happening. There's all kinds of rights issues. Well, there's been many rights issues over the years for Return of the Pink Panther, which many see as like the best of the Pink Panther movies. I would tend to agree. It's my favorite of them all. I think because it was produced by a different company, therefore the rights to it are owned by other people, and it was the same issue with the DVD sets. With the DVD sets, I remember is you could buy a DVD set and you had to buy Return of the Pink Panther separately. That's how I owned it. And yeah, it was a whole thing to do with that. You can look all that stuff up. I used to know it by heart, but as time goes on, you forget these things. But let's see. So that is it for the Pink Panther. Super excited about those. I will be getting those. No, no shadow of a doubt. I will not be getting them, and be upgrading my Shout Factory movies. Plus, also with the extra features that you're going to be getting too, definitely worth it. So those were beloved movies from my childhood. Perhaps these will be beloved movies from your childhood as well. And these movies are Babe from 1995, and then its sequel, Babe, Pig in the City. Now, you can buy them individually on Blu ray or 4K, or you can buy them together in a double feature. Uh, take your pick. Take your pick. So let's see what is coming with the Babe 4K. So let's see. It's a 2 disc release. Disc one is brand new HDR Dolby Vision Master from a 4K scan of the 35mm original camera negative. New audio commentary by film historian slash writer Julie Kurgo and writer filmmaker Peter Hankoff. And then there's an archival audio commentary by writer director George Miller. Yes, the George Miller, Mad Max franchise George Miller, directed Babe. That's and he also directed Happy Feet, I think. Anywho, so the second disc is you get the movie with the new master, you get the new audio commentary, you get the old audio commentary, then you get some new features here. That'll Do Pig in new interview with actor James Cromwell, Making Pigs Talk, new interview with George Miller. That's awesome. The Making of Babe, which is an archival featurette, George Miller on Babe, which is an archival featurette, and that is it. So Babe has been out on disc for years. I'm pretty sure it's in many of your collections already. I think Universal had put this out on Blu-ray back in 2011, and I think that's about it in terms of releases. I don't think they've done. Yeah, they haven't done. They've done repackages over the years for like the 100th anniversary release, the 100th anniversary of Universal. I mean, and things like that. But it looks like this will be celebrating the 30th anniversary of Babe. Yeah, 1995 was 30 years ago. Wow. All right then. Let's see what Babe Pig in the City is looking like as well. So let's see from 1998. See, these are both coming out on December 16th as well, it looks like. So you got a brand new HDR Dolby Vision Master from a 4K scan of the 35mm original camera negative. New audio commentary by film historian slash writer Julie Kurgo and writer filmmaker Peter Hankoff, keeping that consistent with the Babe release. And then for the second disc, the Blu-ray disc, you get the movie with the new master. You get a new audio commentary that I just mentioned. And then you get one feature here. One special feature, A Darker World, a new interview with George Miller, and that's it. Once again, sequels not getting the same amount of love as the original film are get. Let's see. Yeah, if you're a big fan of Babe, if you grew up with Babe, I know it's something from my childhood. Maybe it's something from your childhood as well. Yeah, let's move on from there. Here we go with the great outdoors. All right, so Acres of Movies. This is your moment. Uh, so like I said earlier, when Acres of Movies asked about it, it just says coming soon on 4K UHD, brand new Dolby Vision HDR master. The Great Outdoors from 1988, starring John Candy, Dan Aykroyd, Annette Bening, a couple of other people. Directed by Howard Deutsch, who directed Pretty in Pink, I believe. Howard Deutsch is Zoe Deutsch's father. Zoe Deutsch, the actress, whom I really really like her work. She's been in several really. She's been in several good movies. I remember her. I think she's in. Hold on. I think she's in Everybody Wants Some. the Richard Linklater film. Pretty sure that's her. It's been a few years since I've seen that movie. She's also the daughter of Leah Thompson. But yes, Zoe Deutsch. She was. Oh heck, she's in Nouvelle Vague. She plays Jane Seberg in Nouvelle Vague, which is the one of the newest Richard Linklater films. So there's two Richard Linklater films that are coming out this year. One is Blue Moon, and the other one is Nouvelle Vague. Blue Moon, I know is right now in limited theaters. I think it's in limited theaters right now. But Zoe Deutsch was also in Juror Number Two, which is Clint Eastwood's film from last year, which should have gotten much bigger release than it did. She was in Zombieland Double Tap. She was in the movie Buffalo, which is an interesting indie film that people should check out if you haven't checked it out already. She was also in Before I Fall. She was in Everybody Wants Some. Yes, she was in Everybody Wants Some, the Richard Linklater film. Yeah. Anywho, I'm a big fan of her work. So let's see what we have here. I want to say The Great Outdoors. Like I said, they didn't announce any details on it. Now, The Great Outdoors, I do remember, has a Blu-ray release already from years ago from Universal. I know because I've almost bought it several times because it's dirt cheap. By dirt cheap, it's like an $8 to $10 Blu-ray. And I was actually just going to buy it because, like I said, I'm trying to buy a bunch of John Candy films because I don't have a lot of John Candy in my collection. And I had it in my Amazon cart and they announced this, and I'm like, oh, guess I'm deleting that from there. So I'll just wait for the 4K release that's coming out. And I'm kind of super glad that this is getting a 4K release because I know that the Blu-ray release from 2016 did not look very good at the time. That's Universal for you. With some of their catalog titles, they go full tilt boogie and they give you gorgeous, gorgeous Blu-ray releases. And sometimes they just didn't give a damn, and they just gave you kind of average to below average, sometimes really bad looking Blu-rays. And so The Great Outdoors doesn't look very good. It was probably from an old master at the time. So the fact that it's getting a remaster and all that stuff is really, really good. And it had no special features. The original release had no special features at all. So hopefully we get something. I know Howard Deutsch is still making movies, I think. Let me see. See. So I want to see, I mean, they could get an interview with him, get a commentary with him, or something like that. I know obviously Dan Aykroyd is still with us. John Candy, of course, passed away back in 1994. But yeah, Howard Deutsch is still, he's still with us. Yeah, Howard Deutsch directed Some Kind of Wonderful, which I've also been wanting to get for a very long time. Pretty in Pink. Oh, he directed The Replacements, which is a comedy I really, really love. Yeah, he's still directing. Okay, so you could get him if Kino wanted to pony up the money for it. So there you go. So that is it actually from Kino. That's it. Not much cooking there in the last 2 weeks. So let's see where we're going to go from there. Let's go to Imprint. Why not? Imprint's got 3 box sets. And I feel like we are talking about Imprint almost every episode now because not only are they announcing their usual monthly releases, but they're also announcing other stuff they've got as well. Their 4K big deluxe 4K releases they've been doing. They just did one for David Lynch's Dune. They just did one for Michael Mann's The Keep, which I see everybody doing reviews for, and I get insanely jealous because it looks amazing, but it's gigantic. It is massive. As I bump into my microphone here, it is massive, and I wouldn't know where to put it. It looks heavy too. Probably bend a shelf. But let's go over to Imprint because they do have their bundle pack for January. And their bundle pack for January has 3 box sets. It's got the directed by James Whale box set, 1932 to 1940. It's got their directed by David Lean Volume 2 box set, which is movies from 1949 to 1955. And then we got Hitchcock, The Early Years, Volume 2 as well, 1936 to 1940. All right, then. Since it is the Halloween season, might as well start off by talking about some James Whale stuff. Why not? So, let's see. Trailblazing director James Whale had a long and storied career in the golden age of Hollywood, making waves with horror staples Frankenstein and The Invisible Man, crossing the terrain of multiple genres, including musicals, adventure, and comedy. Celebrate his remarkable legacy with these four classic cinema entries. So, The Old Dark House, which is getting a new Dolby Vision grading by Imprint Films. Okay, we'll talk about this, but let me list this off first. The Kiss Before the Mirror, The Man in the Iron Mask, Green Hell, which is a worldwide first on Blu-ray, and then you get a bonus film, Wives Under Suspicion from 1938, which is only in standard definition. Now, let's start with The Old Dark House, because The Old Dark House has got a couple of releases already that you may be aware of. So the Old Dark House has an I say old now, but it's only a couple of years old, a Cohen Media Group Blu-ray release, which many of you may have in your collection. That is actually still in print. You can get that. But most recently, which we talked about here on Chasing Labels, is Eureka Entertainment put out a 4K UHD release of the Old Dark House, which came with all of the special features, I think, from that Cohen Media release, plus more. And I heard that looks very, very good. Now, what is different with this one seems to be that this has a new Dolby Vision grading by Imprint Films. So therefore, it will, I'm guessing, look different than that Eureka release. Now, if you have the Eureka release, let me do a little side-by-side comparison for those of you at home, so that we can figure this out together, see who's got what where, basically. So let me at least compare it to, here's that Eureka release, which I've been wanting to get myself. So this is actually doing double duty. I get to tell you guys about some information. I get to inform myself as well. And it's not like I haven't done this already myself, but I look this stuff up, analyze it, and then for some reason it completely exits my mind. And this happens so much when you're balancing so much information about movies and movie releases and all this kind of stuff. Things go in and out like you would not believe. So let's see. So this is a 2-disc set of The Old Dark House from Imprint. We got a new audio commentary with film historian and screenwriter Steve Haberman. We have an audio commentary with James Whale biographer James Curtis, an audio commentary by actress Gloria Stewart. And then on disc 2, we've got, let's see. Oh, I also want to say on disc 1, you get the 4K, it says 2160 ultra high definition presentation on 4K UHD with brand new Dolby Vision grading by Imprint Films. Okay. And then on disc 2, you get the high definition presentation of the movie. You get those 3 audio commentaries. Then you get career interview with Gloria Stewart as well. Horror of It All feature documentary. Daughter of Frankenstein, a conversation with Sarah Karloff. Curtis Harrington saves the Old Dark House interview. And then you get a re-release trailer from 2017. Now, the Eureka release has it doesn't have that audio commentary. Actually, let me just move these panels next to each other on my screen so it makes things easier for me to compare here. So, yeah, you do not get the commentary by Steve Haberman, but you do get the commentary by James Whale, biographer James Curtis, and then you get the audio commentary with Gloria Stewart. So those 2 are on the Eureka release as well as the Imprint release. What the Eureka release has for a third commentary that this Imprint release does not have is you get an audio commentary by critic and author Kim Newman and Stephen Jones. That's on the Eureka release. And then the Eureka release has Meet the Femmes, which is a video essay by critic and filmmaker David Cairns. That's not on the imprint release. Daughter of Frankenstein is on both releases. Rescuing a Classic, archival interview with director Curtis Harrington. That is on both releases. Yes. Let's see. And then the Eureka release does not have The Horror of It All, the featured documentary. Yeah. Okay, so as you can see, there's a little give and take here. There's a feature documentary on the imprint release that you don't get on the Eureka release, but the Eureka release does have a commentary by Kim Newman and Stephen Jones. There's a new audio commentary on the imprint release that's not on the Eureka release. And there's a video essay on the Eureka release that's not on the imprint release. Like I said, it's a give and take right here. There's some crossover plus some new stuff on each one. So it really all depends on what you prefer. What is interesting, though, is that on the Eureka release, there's also a new exclusive 4K Dolby Vision HDR presentation of the film. So it looks like you got different Dolby Vision aesthetics for each edition. Yeah. Different grading, I should say. So yet again, it all depends on how you feel as a collector. But let's take a look at Kiss Before the Mirror. So Kiss Before the Mirror, we've already talked about here on Chasing Labels, because Kiss Before the Mirror has two releases as well from other places. It has a Blu-ray release from Kino, and it has a Blu-ray release from Indicator. And I remember the main difference between the Indicator and Kino release is that the Indicator release had more special features and a different audio commentary, and the Kino release had an audio commentary that was different than the Indicator release. So let's take a look. Kiss Before the Mirror. Now, this is a James Whale film from 1933. It's one that I've been wanting to get, actually. Yeah, the only special feature was Alexandra Helen Nicholas had a audio commentary on the Kino release. Now, the Indicator release, I don't know if it had an audio commentary. Let me check, actually. Now that I say that. Let's see. Okay. Okay, so Kiss Before the Mirror had an audio commentary with film historian Nora Fior, which was new in 2023. And it had a video essay. It had a War Department documentary short. So it had more stuff. The Indicator release had more stuff. But of course, the Indicator release is Region B blocked, and the Kino release is Region A. But now let's go over to what this imprint release has. Yeah, now let's go over to Kiss Before the Mirror, new interview with film historian Foster Hirsch, bonus film Wives Under Suspicion. That's it. Okay, so you get no audio commentary of any kind for this version of this movie, but you do get a new interview, and you get a bonus film. Okay, so yeah, interesting. So I've seen all of these movies. The Old Dark House is a all-time horror classic. That movie, I think you need to own if you have any type of horror section at all in your collections. Well, why not? It's great. If you're a big fan of James Whale's early work, you got to have it. Kiss Before the Mirror is okay. It's not great. I don't think it's a must-have for if you're just a casual James Whale fan, but if you're a completist like myself, then you have to get it. But next we have The Man in the Iron Mask. Many of you have probably heard of this story. So, Man in the Iron Mask, James Whale adapts the classic French legend in this historical epic starring Louis Hayward in a dual role as the twins King Louis XIV and Philippe of Gascony. Twin heirs to France's throne are separated at birth. The firstborn Louis is raised as a prince, while Philippe is brought up ignorant of his true identity. When Philippe is arrested and comes face to face with his brother, the tyrannical King Louis decides Philippe could be useful to him as a look-alike. So what happens in this movie, in this version of the story, is that Philippe, who is the other twin, has been um he's been raised actually by D'Artagnan. He's been raised by D'Artagnan and the Three Musketeers, and that's his backstory. And one day, the King Louis decides to just to swap places with him. And what happens is that Philippe is so much nicer and so much better as a king and as a person and all that stuff that people start preferring him than the original. So he switches back and creates all kinds of stuff, and he wants to send him away and puts him in the Iron Mask, and all kinds of stuff ensues. It's one of those fun adventure movies from that time, taking, of course, inspiration from the classic story, which was, I think, written by Dumas. Pretty sure it's by Dumas. I know Dumas wrote The Three Musketeers, but I'm pretty sure he wrote this as well. And what's interesting is historically there was perhaps really a man in the Iron Mask, or there was a man who was um locked away for so many years until his death. There's a whole story about it. Go. It's fascinating to me, who's a big history buff and all this kind of stuff. Go look up all that stuff yourself and just have a good old fun time. It leads to so many myths and stories and historical speculation and all kinds of investigations and whatnot. It's really great. It's cool, like old History Channel type of stuff, not their newest stuff, but for what this movie has in terms of special features, all you have is a new audio commentary by film historian Daniel Kramer and David Del Val. And I say only, but that's a very nice special feature. Two really good people who know what they're doing when it comes to these things. And then we got kind of the worst movie in this set, and it's probably the worst James Whale film that I've seen, is Green Hell. From 1940. It's a worldwide first on Blu-ray. Douglas Fairbanks Jr., Joan Bennett, and Vincent Price head deep into the jungle in this thrilling adventure from director James Whale. Now, if you look up like why is this movie not liked at all by people, or not liked a lot by people, apparently Vincent Price and Joan Bennett hated this movie. And I think Vincent Price said this is like the worst movie he worked on in his career. So, in the jungle of the Amazon, a group of Western adventurers and two local native guides try to locate a lost treasure buried deep in an ancient Incan city. Yes. Let's see. For special features, we've got 1080p high definition presentation on Blu-ray from a new 2025 restoration from a 4K scan. At least it's going to look nice. New video essay by film historian / author Stuart Galbraith IV. A new interview with author Foster Hirsch. Trailers from Hell, Green Hell, featuring filmmaker John Landis. And then that is it. Yeah. Like I said, kind of the worst James Whale film that I've ever seen. I don't think it's as bad as its reputation, but I also don't think it's very, very good, and which is a shame considering the talent that is in the movie that is on screen. I love Vincent Price. He's one of my favorites of all time. So I had to see the movie kind of just for his sake and for, Chasing Label's sake as well. Let's see what we got here in terms of other Imprint releases. Let's move over to the next director box set, and this is David Lean, another one of my favorites. Now, this is continuing right off from the Volume 1 box set, which was really, really good. And this second box set has its good movies as well. Different type of David Lean films. If you're used to David Lean epics, if you're used to Lawrence of Arabia, Dr. Zhivago, and movies like that, these are not quite those movies. These are his British films from early on in his career. So they're much more low-key, but they're also pretty tight and pretty focused, and some of them are rather good, actually. I know the first box set had a bunch of his collaborations with Noel Coward, which is very well known. So this has, let's see, let me just read this. David Lean is a name synonymous with sweeping epics. The Academy Award-winning director behind *The Bridge on the River Kwai* and *Lawrence of Arabia* was also known for the intimate drama and comedy for his masterful ability to capture human emotion against sweeping backdrops. Our second David Lean collection brings together five of his finest post-war films, each accompanied by a brand new archival special features. The Passionate Friends from 1949, Madeline, which is getting its worldwide first on Blu-ray from 1950, The Sound Barrier, Hobson's Choice, and Summertime. Now, Hobson's Choice and Summertime may sound familiar to many of you because they both have Blu-rays from Criterion. And I've seen both of them, actually. I'd seen both of them before I'd watched this. Actually, I have Summertime. Summertime with Katharine Hepburn. That's why I have it. I'm trying to get all of the Katharine Hepburn films. So I had to have Summertime. And it took forever for Summertime to get a Blu-ray release. I don't know why it took so long. All it had was an old DVD for so many years. Like, I think it took damn near 20 years to get a Blu-ray release of Summertime with Katharine Hepburn. But let's go over this. So, The Passionate Friends. Ann Todd, Claude Rains, and Trevor Howard star in this love triangle drama based on the novel of the same name by H.G. Wells. The accidental meeting of two one-time passionate friends nearly causes the total disruption of a marriage until the husband realizes the truth. So, what you've got here is a love triangle going on. Well, yeah, I would say love triangle with a lot of friction. You've got this mad, passionate romance between Ann Todd and Trevor Howard, and you've got this older husband in Claude Rains, who is, obviously different than Trevor Howard. And you've got Ann Todd, who's kind of caught in the middle between both of these men. And the movie is, of course, incredibly melodramatic, and it's told in a framing device as well. I think because you're looking back at at how all of these events transpired and how they affect the modern, or at least modern, time of the story. And it's very good, very well acted. I love Claude Rains. I've been a big Claude Rains fan ever since I saw Casablanca many years ago. I've always loved Claude Rains. I think he's one of the most underrated actors of his time, in my opinion. And he showed up in a lot of movies. He's in The Wolfman, the Universal Monster movie. I think he's excellent in that film. Just a great actor, Claude Rains was. But let's see what's on this release here. So you got a new audio commentary by Alan Silver and Jim Ursini, authors of David Lean and his films. You have a new feature here as well, The Passionate Friends and Appreciation interview with Professor Melanie Williams, author of David Lean. New interview with first assistant editor Jim Popel. Wow, holy heck. This movie came out in 1949. To get somebody who was in part of the production from 1949 in 2025, and that's a new special feature, is kind of incredible. That you don't hear about that, unfortunately, now, because a lot of people have passed away from that era of movie making. But my goodness, way to go, Imprint, for getting that. So that is The Passionate Friends. So I could give that a recommendation. Madeline. So David Lean continued his collaboration with his spouse at the time, Ann Todd. Yes, so Ann Todd and he were married, I think, until 1957. I believe so, 1957. And you've got the movie Madeline. They don't give a synopsis here for it, so I'm going to have to go over to see what IMDb says. IMDb doesn't have the best synopsis. Sorry, I just completely concentrated on spelling Madeline. I couldn't remember if Madeline was EI or IE, because it doesn't follow the rule. So Madeline's middle-class family cannot understand why she puts off marrying a respectable young man. They know nothing about her long-term affair with a Frenchman. Okay, yep, now it's coming back to me. Now I know it. So you have this young woman in Madeline. I think this is based on a play. And I think Ann Todd portrayed Madeline in the play version of this movie. So hence why she was, cast in as Madeline for the film. And the fact that, her and David Lean were married at the time does help, of course. And So this is based on a true story, actually. True story, I think from the mid to late 19th century, where this young woman, Madeline, is having a secret affair with this French man, Frenchman, and while she's also seeing suitors that her father is setting up for her. It's a male dominated society. It's 19th century, wealthy class. You understand these circumstances here. And what is happening is she's seeing him on the side. They have this kind of passionate romance that's going on, but but then she ends up finding that one of the suitors from her father she ends up liking a lot, and they end up becoming engaged to be married, and she trying to distance herself from the person she was having an affair with, and he will not let her go. Talk about toxic masculinity in the 19th century. Well, it exists to this day as well, and won't let her go, and things get complicated from there. I won't say what else happens because I would be giving away the whole movie, but either way, it's a fine movie. um there's a shift that happens during the movie in terms of where the plot goes. I'll just say that. I'll just say that. But let's see what we have here on the discs. On the disc. So, new audio commentary by Elaine Silver and Jim Rossini, authors of David Lean and his films. New Madeline and Appreciation interview with Professor Melanie Williams, author of David Lean. I feel like I just said that. New interview with actor Douglas Barr. New interview with actor Michael Medwin. New interview with first assistant editor Jim Popel again. All right. We get some more interview with people who are directly involved with the movie. Yet again, this movie came out in 1950. It's great to see that again. So next we have, I don't know what it is with this. I was saying, yeah. So next we've got The Sound Barrier. So, Take to the Skies with the Sound Barrier, sensational aviation drama starring Ralph Richardson and Todd, once again, John Justin and Nigel Patrick. John Ridgefield, pioneer airman and visionary, manufactures jet planes designed to fly faster than sound into a new world. But his daughter Susan, believing that human life is more important than human progress, condemns her father's aims and endeavors as senseless ambition. So this is a kind of um I don't know if this is the proper term here. Sensationalized, fictitious kind of movie about the British aviation in post World War II British aviation, where they're trying to develop faster, more dynamic, better aircrafts. They're trying to break, I think, the sound barrier, trying to go to Mach 1. And this movie is a kind of a melodrama set around that, where you've got this father and daughter, and I believe this daughter marries one of the aviation pilots, which of course, keeps her within that world and that world of peril, because you've got these stunt pilots who are, taking their lives in their hands by testing out this new technology. You don't know what's going to happen. It's going to blow up. You're going to crash. You're going to go too fast. You're not going to be able to control the plane. All this kind of stuff can happen. So it's a melodrama built around all of those dynamics and, human interactions as well. It's a fine movie. It's a little bit too technical, and I feel like they were just trying to show off, hey, look at us get these shots of us flying airplanes. It's a little bit, so the movie's kind of boring from that regard. I found this movie actually relatively boring, in my opinion. So I wouldn't recommend it as one of David Lean's best. If you're a David Lean completionist, I guess give it a watch. But it wasn't great from my perspective. But let's see what we got here on the disc. We got audio commentary by Elaine Silver and Jim Rossini again. You have The Sound Barrier and Appreciation with Melanie Williams again. I got to get this book author of David Lean because it just keeps popping up. A new interview with scenic artist Peter Mullins. BFI interview with David Lean from 1959. Okay. Interview with journalist Jeffrey Wansell. And then that is it. All right. So now we have Hobson's Choice. Academy Award winner Charles Laughton is Henry Hobson in Hobson's Choice, the BAFTA-winning hit comedy based on the play of the same name by Harold Brighouse. Let's see. Harry Hobson, a prosperous provincial bookmaker and widower, has his home and business looked after by his 3 daughters. While he has allowed his 2 younger daughters to marry the to marry, the eldest Maggie must stay and care for him. But Maggie has other ideas and is determined to have her own way. Now, before I continue, I do want to bring up Criterion's version to get a little difference here in terms of special features. I figured why not? I have to be on the Criterion website anyways, because I will be talking about Criterion later on in this Chasing Labels spy number. Let's see, Hobson's Choice. I actually don't have Hobson's Choice in my collection. It may be something I pick up at a later date. I have a David Lean section, so I've got to get all of his movies eventually. So I may pick it up for that reason, and the fact that I love Charles Lawton. Charles Lawton is probably one of the best actors of all time. I don't say that lightly. So all right, I have Hobson's Choice up here for Criterion. So let's see. New Hobson's Choice and Appreciation interview with Professor Melanie Williams again. Interview with actress Prunella Scales. Interview with associate producer and co-writer Norman Spencer. And that is it. Now let's go over to the Criterion edition, which has an audio commentary featuring film scholars Elaine Silver and James Orsini. Hollywood greats Charles Lawton, a 1978 BBC documentary about the actor's life and career. And that's it. All right. So vastly different. Very different. Yeah, you have new appreciation for David Lean by Melanie Williams, 2 new interviews for the Imprint release, and then on the Criterion release, you have a documentary about Charles Lawton, and then you've got a commentary on there. So vastly different. So it says 1080p high definition presentation on Blu-ray, and then for the Criterion, it says high definition transfer from a restoration by the BFI National Archive, funded by the David Lean Foundation and Studio Canal. A little bit more information about that release. Now let me see when the Hobson's Choice Blu-ray came out, because that could factor into things a little bit. Let's see. And I know Hobson's Choice was a recent release. Hold on. Bum. Oh, okay. So there is no Blu-ray. All right, that just threw me for a loop. So there is no Blu-ray of Hobson's Choice from Criterion. There's only a DVD. All right. Okay, so that changes things radically. All right. That changes things radically. I am surprised because Criterion, like I said, they've done the Noel Coward box set on Blu-ray. They've done Summertime on Blu-ray, all David Lean films. Hobson's Choice would be their logical, ironically, next choice to put on Blu-ray. So put a little pin in that. So that may come at some point. All right, so that does change things. But next, let's go to Summertime. Same deal here. This I do know has a Blu-ray because I have it. So that could be why I don't have Hobson's Choice. There is no Blu-ray. All right. But there is Summertime. Okay. So Summertime, Hollywood icon Katharine Hepburn stars in the heartwarming Technicolor romantic comedy filmed on location in Venice. Yes, beautiful Venice on Blu-ray. Let's see. We've got a highly strung and lonely American looks for love in Venice. Soon fantasies of romance become reality when she meets a handsome but married Venetian man. Based on the stage play of The Time of the Cuckoo by Arthur Lawrence, David Leans described Summertime as his favorite film he made, once saying, "I put more of myself in that film than any other I've ever made." That is true, actually. Summertime is his favorite of his films. I forgot about that. So, that's awesome. We've got an audio commentary by Elaine Silver and James Orsini, audio commentary by film scholar Mark Nichols, new Summertime and Appreciation by Melanie Williams, and then let's take a quick look over at the Criterion, which has, let's see, they do have, it says 1080p high definition on Blu-ray, and then Summertime has, just a Blu-ray release, and it says new 4K digital restoration with uncompressed monaural soundtrack, new interview with film historian Melanie Williams, it's got an interview from 1963 with David Lean, audio excerpts from a 1988 interview with cinematographer Jack Hildyard. So The Criterion does have does have different things, but this imprint release has two two audio commentaries and a new appreciation with Melanie Williams. And the Criterion doesn't have a commentary. Just guys has an interview with Melanie Williams, interview with David Lean, and then excerpts from an interview with the cinematographer. Okay, now let's see. This imprint release does have a bonus disc. So the imprint release bonus disc says continue your deep dive into the career and legacy of David Lean with archival featurettes and the secret part of our second part of our imprint exclusive documentary on David Lean by author Simon Lewis. So the special features on this disc are new Before the Epic, David Lean's Little Gems Part 2, documentary by author Simon Lewis, David Lean, a self-portrait documentary, The South Bank Show, David Lean, A Life in Film, and The South Bank Show, David Lean and Robert Bolt. So, and it also has a 70-page hardcover booklet as well. So it's tough. It's tough. I mean, I don't know what to tell you as collectors. Since some of these movies have releases from other companies, some of them don't. These new releases have different special features, and then the old releases have different special features. So it's tough. It's really tough. I mean, I would say get it all, but come on, that's not really realistic to ask to tell people to do that. Plus, I would never tell people how to, how to curate their own collections and whatnot. I just can, give you the information that is at hand. Speaking of information at hand, let's go to the next box set. Let's go to the Hitchcock, the early years. Now, these will also have some familiar titles. So we've got, let's see, the master of suspense, Alfred Hitchcock conquered silent cinema in the 1920s, made his mark on sound films in the early 1930s, and then set forth developing his iconic style of dark drama, gripping thrillers, and black comedy as the 30s rolled on. This second volume of Hitchcock's early years sees him capture the flair for stylish suspense that would define his legacy. And we've got Sabotage, Young and Innocent, The Lady Vanishes, Ford Correspondent, and then a bonus film, Waltzes from Vienna from 1934 in standard definition. Now, this does not have all of his 1930s films. One that's notably missing from here is his last British film, and that would be Jamaica Inn, which came out in 1939. There's a Cohen Media Blu-ray of that I have in my collection. So that's one that's definitely missing. Plus, I think a couple others too. But anywho, let's go to Sabotage. Praised by critics on release and still fresh with each contemporary viewing, Hitchcock's Sabotage is often listed as one of the greatest British films of all time. A detective is on the trail of a saboteur who is plotting to set off a bomb in London. Starring Sylvia Sidney, Oscar Homolka, and John Loder, and adapted from the 1907 novel The Secret Agent by Joseph Conrad. Joseph Conrad, who is a famous, he wrote Hearts of Darkness. So what we have here for special features is a new audio commentary by writers and film experts Kim Newman and Barry Forshaw. An audio commentary by authors as film scholar Leonard Leff. New film critic Tim Roby on Sabotage. Introduction by critic Charles Barr. On-location featurette introduction by Robert Powell. Archival episode of Cinema Then, Cinema Now, featuring Professor Jerry Carlson, Professor George Custon, and Professor Ilan Stevans. Peter Bogdanovich interviews Hitchcock. Archival introduction by Tony Curtis. Okay. So there's so much to talk about here. So there is an Alfred Hitchcock early years box set number 1. Hold on, I'm about to sneeze. It's that time of year where I am getting sick perpetually. By perpetually, I mean like I will be sick pretty much from now throughout the rest of the cold month seasons. So I'm constantly sick throughout the cold month seasons. As soon as the weather turns and things get cold, my body takes a nosedive. So please excuse me for runny noses, congestion, coughing, sneezing, etc., etc. But what I was trying to say is their Imprint put out a volume 1 collection of his early work. We've gotten other collections and other companies have put out ver- versions and editions of Hitchcock's silent era, as well as his work in British film in the 1930s. We got a whole BFI box set of that recently as well. I know Kino has put out a bunch of these movies before as well. So there's been a lot of this stuff in the Blu-ray realm recently. Coincidentally, we went from when I started collecting, a lot of these movies were only available on really bad public domain DVD sets. And now we've got several Blu-ray sets with special features and new transfers and remasters, all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of amazing. We're living in brilliant Hitchcock times. But this set here looks like another solid set. Now I know there've been some issues with some of the previous Hitchcock sets. Issues in the sense like they will go up for pre-order and they get taken down because of certain rights issues and whatnot. These are also super limited to only 1,000 copies. So these do sell out pretty darn fast. Hitchcock, of course, is still to this day a massive name in the movie lovers world. But let's move on to Young and Innocent. I was gonna go and compare this set to the BFI set into the Kino sets, but we'll be here forever if I do that for everything. I know I did just do that with the David Lean stuff, but it was more of a couple of movies in there. This is every single movie because all of these movies have been, like I said, re-released so many times, especially recently. So Young and Innocent from 1937. This thrilling mystery was adapted from the novel A Shilling for Candles by Joseph Tay, a crisply paced, excellent performed film. After seeing the body of a young girl washed up on a beach, Robert Tisdale runs away to secure help. He is seen by two girls who, believing him to be the murderer, inform the police. He must then attempt to prove himself innocent of a charge of murder based on circumstantial evidence. So I have seen this movie. Once again, Hitchcock throughout his career would take the same or similar premises and redo it. This is clearly the wrong man scenario. And the wrong man scenario is one that he would reutilize over and over and over again throughout his career. He did this after this, he would do this in North by Northwest. He would do this in the movie The Wrong Man with Henry Fonda. He did this so many times. I believe even in the 39 Steps. I mean, so many things. So let's see what we have here for special features. There's an audio commentary by writer and film experts Kim Newman and Joe Boding. There's another audio commentary by authors Stephen Rebello and Bill Crone. New film critic Tim Roby on Young and Innocent. Intro by critic Charles Barr. A profile of Hitchcock, the early years. Peter Bogdanovich interviews Hitchcock. Hitchcock Truffaut audio interview segment. Archival introduction by actor Tony Curtis. All right. Now we have The Lady Vanishes. Okay, so The Lady Vanishes has been released before, most prominently by Criterion. Like it was an early DVD release by Criterion. It was an early Blu-ray release by Criterion. I don't think they've upgraded that one to 4K. Oh, maybe they have. Hold on. I can't remember if they did or not. Let's see. No, they haven't yet, and they've been upgrading some of their releases recently of their more well-known catalog stuff. So Margaret Lockwood and Michael Redgrave star in this iconic mystery renowned as one of Hitchcock's best films, and it is, and based on the novel The Wheel Spins by Ethel Lena White. This is one of Alfred Hitchcock's most well-known films. This is Alfred Hitchcock 101. If you've never seen an Alfred Hitchcock film before, this is a pretty good place to start. The Lady Vanishes. During a journey aboard a transcontinental express, a young woman strikes up an acquaintance with a middle-aged English governess who mysteriously disappears from her compartment. The girl is accused of hallucinating and begins to doubt her own state of mind, but as further inquiries are made, the curious behavior of a group of foreign government agents is revealed. So this is a classic Alfred Hitchcock movie, one of the most classic. It literally, the title of the movie tells you all you need to know. There's a lady on a train who vanishes, and the woman who was interacting with her is like, "Hey, have any of you seen this lady I was just talking to?" And everybody's like, "What lady were you talking? What are you talking about? There's no lady here that fits that description. What are you doing, you lunatic?" and and she's like, "Did I really talk to somebody? Did I not talk to somebody? What's going on here?" And conspiracy theories, you know, are afoot. Things are happening. Things are happening. Once again, it's a classic Alfred Hitchcock scenario where somebody gets caught up in something bigger than themselves. I just mentioned North by Northwest. It happens there, happens in the 39 Steps. It happens in a Rear Window, where that turns out to be something bigger and bigger. That's a classic thing that happens in Alfred Hitchcock's films. It happens in Saboteur. Um, so many of his movies are like that. Like I've said before, and I'll say it again. Alfred Hitchcock took the same types of plots and modes and details and kind of repackaged them in different movies. And he knew exactly how to play audiences. He knew that audiences love this stuff. And he did it so effectively throughout his career. So let's see what this disc has. So we got a new audio commentary by professor and film scholar Jason Ney. We got a new film historian Matthew Sweet on The Lady Vanishes, an intro by Charles Barr, archival episode of City Cinematique featuring Professor Jerry Carlson and Professor Royal Brown, and that is it. Bonus film Waltzes from Vienna from 1934 in standard definition. That's on that disc. Let's see. Interesting, we don't have any excerpts from the Francois Truffaut interview. We don't have anything with Peter Bogdanovich as well. And yeah, I can tell you this. All right, I'm going to break my rule. But the Criterion has an audio commentary with film historian Bruce Ader. There's a 1941 feature-length adventure film starring Basil Rathbone and Norton Wayne as Carters and Caldecott. They're beloved characters from The Lady Vanishes. So you get two characters from The Lady Vanishes on a different adventure story. Excerpts from Francois Truffaut's and Hitchcock's interview. Mystery Train, a video essay by Hitchcock and Lady Vanishes by Hitchcock scholar Leonard Leff. Those are all on the Criterion release. Those are not on this Imprint release, so completely different. Foreign Correspondent is actually one of my favorite Alfred Hitchcock films. I wrote a whole paper on it in college. Nominated for 6 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Hitchcock's The Landmark, spy thriller, stars Joel McCrea, Lorraine Day, and Herbert Marshall. At the beginning of 1939, Jones, an American reporter, is sent by his paper to Europe, where he is to investigate the possibility of a world war. In London, he meets an elderly Dutch politician, co-signatory of a secret alliance treaty, whose details the Nazi will stop at nothing to discover. Once again, this is one of those movies where somebody gets caught up in something much larger than themselves. This movie I've seen many, many times. I've had this on Criterion for so damn long. And I've watched it over and over and over again. Like I said, I wrote a whole paper on it. For special features, you have The Art of Film, Vintage. It says The Art of Film, Vintage Hitchcock. Trailers from Hell, Foreign Correspondent featuring filmmaker Larry Cohen. Academy Award Theater, Foreign Correspondent, 1946 radio adaptation starring Joseph Cotton. And that's it. Wow, okay. I thought there would be a little bit more for that, because this was also nominated for Best Picture at the time. And that and Rebecca were nominated for the same year. So Alfred Hitchcock had two films nominated at the same time. And the Criterion release has a new 2K digital restoration of the movie, new piece on the film special effects by visual effects expert Craig Barron, Hollywood propaganda in World War II, a new interview with writer Mark Harris, interview with director Alfred Hitchcock on the Dick Cavett Show from 1972, radio adaptation of the movie with Joe Cotton, that's on the Imprint release. It says, have you heard the story of wartime rumors, a 1942 Life magazine photo drama by Alfred Hitchcock. So, yeah, the Criterion release seems a little bit better. And this movie is notorious for being one of those World War II propaganda films. This movie is literally about trying to convince people to help out Great Britain during World War II. Yeah, World War II at the time had just relatively started, because it started in 1939, and by 1940 was well underway, and Great Britain at that time was of course steeped into the war. They needed help from allies. They needed allied help. So this movie was really to get help from them, specifically from the United States. I know at least at the outbreak of World War II, the United States was helping out with like supplies and things like that, but they needed the United States to get involved in the war, which they eventually, of course, due to Pearl Harbor, did, which changed the trajectory of World War II and the course of history, and literally the course of history. So that is it for this box set. This Hitchcock, The Early Years, Volume 2, 1936 to 1940. It's got 5 movies. Um, well, technically 6, I guess, with the bonus movies. So Sabotage, Young and Innocent, Lady Vanishes, Foreign Correspondent, and Waltzes from Vienna in standard definition. So that is actually it from Imprint. And these are all coming out in January. In January. Okay, so that is it from Imprint. Now let's stay in that geographical area of the world and we will go over to Umbrella. Okay, so let me go to Umbrella's shop and check out what they've got going. So this actually will let me bring this up. So remember in the last episode of Chasing Labels, if you didn't listen, if you didn't watch, I understand. But in the last episode of Chasing Labels, the last spine number of Chasing Labels, I believe 175, I talked about the Umbrella release of Dogma, the Kevin Smith film that was finally getting a 4K UHD release, finally getting a re-release in physical media at all after being so many years of being out of print. Well, it looks like many of us were too happy too soon, because that specific Australian release is no longer available on their website to United States customers, to customers from the US. If you go to their website now, you can't see it. If you're from the US, if you're from Australia, I think it's still available. But if you are from the United States, you cannot pre-order or gain access to any of those releases. But you can still buy like the t-shirts, the hats, the candle, the pin set, the beanie, all that kind of stuff. But you can't buy the actual release, which pisses me off. Pisses me off to no end. So Lionsgate is putting out their own version of Dogma. They're being released through their Lionsgate Limited. That line, that's their boutique line essentially, if you will. And since they're putting out their own release, I guess they didn't want the competition. That's at least my guess of it all. I could be completely wrong, completely overthinking it, and just being upset that we're not getting this super duper deluxe, or at least access to this super super deluxe release. If you have friends in Australia and you want this release, contact them and work out a deal with them to be able to get it, because we can't even pre-order it now. I think they are honoring the pre-orders that have already been made. I know Steven here from Chasing Labels, he pre-ordered it, so I would have to check with him about whether they canceled his pre-order or not. But if you have friends in Australia and you want to get it, I guess contact them. Maybe the US online retailers will get their stock of it. I'm talking about Diabolic, I'm talking about Orbit DVD, I'm talking about Grindhouse Video, others out there as well. Check them for when this comes out. But I'm super pissed because I hate that there's regional restrictions, there's territory restrictions, there's all this nonsense where I'm like, just give people the releases and let them choose which ones they want to get. Give us the freedom as collectors to choose what we want. If we want the Australian Dogma release, let's get the Australian Dogma release. Don't restrict us, if you will. As it is, physical media is, people say it's a dying industry, which it very much well could be. We just talked about Shout Factory earlier, what's going on over there potentially. I mean, stop, this is not the time to restrict us from buying stuff. All the money needs to keep flowing to these companies to keep them alive. Especially in the boutique label world where everything is relatively limited as it is. That's just me going off on a soapbox here, so you'll have to stop me. But let's get into what is cooking with Umbrella right now. So we've got a few releases from them. Excuse me. So we've got Suicide Club from 2001. We have Lesbian Space Princess, which is a animated film. We have The Horseman. We have The Innkeepers, and we have chain reactions. Excuse me. And oh yeah, I think that's about it. Yeah. So Suicide Club, I'll start here because uh, this is kind of an important release. This is a 4K release. This is a Blu-ray release. This is a collector's edition here. Only available from the Umbrella Web Store, Suicide Club 4K and Blu-ray Collector's Edition. Now, why is this important, you may be asking yourself, as I'm asking myself as well? Let me go over to Facebook and tell you this. Actually, I don't need to go to Facebook. I just need to go to New Wave Video. So our buddies over at New Wave Video are actually putting out the sequel to this movie. That's why. And I was wondering if the original was going to be getting a release by some other company since it was not getting a release by them. So let's see. Let me go check out New Wave Video. Yeah, here we go. On their website now. So they are putting out actually not even available. Let me go. Hold on. I went to their website and it's not up there. I'm gonna go to their Facebook page. Yes, Noriko's Dinner Table. So we had our friend John Matthews from over at New Wave Video, his new label that is going to be started putting out discs relatively soon. One of their releases, one of their early releases, is Noriko's Dinner Table. And Noriko's Dinner Table is the sequel to Suicide Club. And you don't necessarily have to watch Suicide Club to watch Noriko's Table. It just helps. It helps in the sense that they're both set in the same world. And in Noriko's Dinner Table, in that movie, there is hints, there's references to events that happened in the Suicide Club movie. So it helps. But back to Suicide Club. So this outrageously bizarre, wicked social critique in the form of a creepy and enigmatic detective mystery examines the despair of the disaffected Japanese youth and the influence of pop culture on their lives. From international film favorite to cult sensation, Suicide Club is a study of contemporary morality that is gruesome, darkly comic, and vividly original. Yes, and this collector's edition comes with a 48-page book, custom illustration slipcase, 8 art cards, A3 reversible poster, limited edition numbered release. And yeah, this is directed by Sion Sono. Let's see, the extra features are new audio commentary with film archivist and media professional Ariel Schudson, dismembered limbs and buckets of blood, Suicide Club with special effects guru Yoshiro Nishimura, Just Desserts, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love Suicide Club with film historian Alexandra Helen Nicholas. That's worth it. That's worth it in and of itself. So I did get to see this movie recently because I want to watch it before I watched Noriko's Dinner Table. And yeah, it is slow burn contemplative movie heaped in social commentary themes, specifically about youth culture and the disaffectedness of them and all kinds of stuff like that. As somebody who is fascinated about those things, I'm constantly fascinated about how every generation has that about them. There's something unique about every generation and something shared with every generation of young people. And it gets more interesting as time goes on, as technology advances, as the social media world has exploded in the last 20 years, how just how all that has affected and influenced young people. Really interesting stuff. So this is a big old collector's edition of Suicide Club, which came out in 2001, which was actually really before the internet became as massive as it is now, before social media became a thing, before we all really became connected in the world today in some way, shape, or form. So this is a fascinating, almost time capsule type of movie, but also dealing with timeless themes as well. It's really, really good. So that is Suicide Club. Let's move on from there. Now, when is this actually coming out? I probably should have specified that. Let's see. This is coming out. I know it's February 4th. All right, so this is a movie. So February 4th. So I did not get to see Lesbian Space Princess because this movie is too new. I think this movie just came out either last year or this year, and it's too new. I couldn't find it streaming anywhere to rent or anything like that. So only available from the Umbrella web store. The Galactic Deluxe Lesbian Space Princess Sweatshirt Collector's Bundle includes a sexy bitch sweatshirt, Lesbian Space Princess soundtrack on CD, 48-page booklet, original artwork across the packaging, 8 art cards, sticker sheet, A3 reversible poster, and let's see, what do we have here for the description? What do we have here for extras? So, meet Princess Sarah, heir to the lesbian queens of Clatopolis. Freshly dumped by her bounty hunter girlfriend for being too needy, when said ex gets snatched by the cosmic incel collective known as Straight White Malians, Sarah's got 24 hours to hand over the legendary royal uh, Libre, the deadliest weapon in the universe. Problem is, she doesn't actually have it. As you can see here, this is cultural references and social references through the roof when it comes to the LGBTQ plus community. Definitely not shying away from all of those things and all of those themes. I really wanted to see this movie. Unfortunately, like I said, couldn't find it to watch it. But for special features, we have an audio commentary with directors Emma Hobbs and Leela Vargas. New The Making of the Lesbian Space Princess. There's new auditions. There's animatics, behind the scenes stuff, deleted scenes, outtakes. There's original Magic Trick reference footage with Sean Regard, who is a magician and mentalist. There's a new 2025 post-screening Q&A with directors Emma Hobbs and Leela Vargas, moderated by film critic Jamie Tram. Okay, this is a brand new movie I know nothing about, but I'm definitely curious about. Let's see. Now we've got an Australian film called The Horseman that came out in 2008. Sorry, once again, I am not well today. I don't know what's going on with me. My nose cannot stop running. Let's see. Moving right along. So, director restored never before seen cut from a 4K transfer. The collector's edition has a 48-page book, custom illustration, rigid. I'm going to be slipcase by Tom Ralston, custom illustration, slipcase, and by Tom Ralston. 8 art cards, reversible poster, limited edition number release. Action-packed, award-winning Australian thriller. Feel every hammer blow with The Horseman director's cut, a modern Aussie classic that has been recut, recolored, remixed, and newly restored by director Stephen Castricios into a new, never-before-seen cut from a 4K transfer. Okay. So, after learning of the suspicious death of his daughter, Christian is sent a chilling video of what may have been her last hours alive. Driving through North Queensland to locate those responsible for his daughter's death, he reluctantly picks up Alice, an awkward young runaway, and an unlikely bond develops. So, what happens in this movie? Now, this is a low-budget indie Australian film from 2008. I did get to see it, and I'm curious what the new director's cut looks like, because I don't think that's the cut I saw. This movie is a father who was estranged from his daughter, who probably had run away and got herself into some trouble, got herself into the wrong hands, dealing with drugs, dealing with bad people, got herself wrapped up in all of those things, and ultimately, died. And he is now on a revenge tour to bring justice to those who are responsible for it. By justice, I'm talking about brutality. Brutality in the Mortal Kombat fashion. And yeah, it's a harsh, gruesome film from that perspective. Think of the movie Blue Ruin. I don't know if any of you know of the Jeremy Saulnier film Blue Ruin, where that movie's about a guy going on essentially a revenge tour. It's similar to that. It's similar to that, and I just kept thinking about that the whole time I was watching this movie, and this movie's pretty good for what it is. It's a little repetitive in the sense, like, he goes, finds a person, does his thing, goes, finds a person, does his thing. There is underlying thematic stuff in there when he meets this Alice character who he's starting to view as a pseudo-daughter because she's around the same age, I believe, as his daughter who's passed, and stuff like that. But this is a low-budgeted movie. This isn't like, a Hollywood film with a Hollywood budget in that regard. It's not like highly choreographed action, like something like a John Wick or things like that. It's very low key from the very beginning all the way through its end. Um, so there's a lot of unpolishedness about this movie, unpolished filmmaking, unpolished editing, unpolished effects, stuff like that. But I think if you can get past all of that, you will understand why it was technically, highly regarded at its time of release. So let's see what we have here for special features. New audio commentary with the Australian crime film critics Alexei Toli- Tolopoulos and Blake Howard. It says, Yeah Noir, the Horseman and the Australian noir genre with screenwriter and author Maria Lewis. A new making of The Horseman director's cut and remaster, and the director's cut trailer. You also get the theatrical cut of the movie. Got an audio commentary with the director and the producer and the actor Peter Marshall. You got another audio commentary with just the director, Stephen Castricios. A making of The Horseman, and you also get 3 deleted scenes. Short film with optional audio commentary. Interview with the actor Caroline Marohazy, and interview with stunt coordinator Chris Anderson. So this is a nice set. It's a really nice release. 2 cuts of the movie, uh, uh, 2 audio commentaries. It's got a nice remaster and recut of the movie. Plus, it looks like archival special features as well. Nice release. All right, so that is The Horseman, and this is coming. I should mention, I think I watched this streaming on Tubi. So this is available to stream on Tubi if you want to check it out. Obviously, I'm assuming just the theatrical cut. This is coming February 4th as well. I'm assuming these are all February 4th. So next we've got the movie The Innkeepers, which is a Thai West film. Now this has just got a second sight release. So I don't think I really need to talk about this too much. It says check in for chills with The Innkeepers, an underrated ghost story from writer-director Ty West, who did House of the Devil, X, Pearl, Maxine. The Innkeepers is both a modern ghost story and a chilling ode to classic haunted house cinema. Very true. I watched this years ago. I think I watched this, oh goodness, over a decade ago. I watched it with my cousin. My cousin was really a big gateway into horror films for me. Even to this day, when I talk with him, we talk about horror and stuff like that. But we used to hang out all the time on weekends and watch horror films and eat fast food. We used to that's what we used to do. We used to watch movies in general, but we did watch a lot of horror films and whatnot. And we watched The Innkeepers. This was streaming on Netflix for the longest time, and it really was an early Thai West film. And I don't want to say anything about the mystery behind it, all that kind of stuff, but yeah, Ghost Story is accurate description of it. So, The Innkeeper. Let's see what we have here for special features. Let me go back to where I was. Bum. There we are. Extras. Only available from the web store. There's the 48-page book, original artwork across the packaging, 8 art cards, a reversible poster. There's a new interview with film critic and author Alexandra Helen Nicholas. When the Living Haunt the Dead, critic Martin Conterio on The Innkeepers. Audio commentary with writer, director, and editor Ty West. Producers Larry Fessenden. Oh, wow, that's awesome. Larry Fessenden and Peter Falk, and sound designer Graham Resnick. Audio commentary with writer, director, and hold on. Audio commentary with writer, director, and editor Ty West, and actors Sarah Paxton and Pat Healy. And Innkeepers behind the scenes. I forgot that Larry Fessenden was a producer on this. And many of you are probably aware of Larry Fessenden because there have been 2 volumes of his work being put out by Vinegar Syndrome currently. But let me see. I'm curious what Second Sight's release had. I can't remember if I went over the Second Sight release before. Let's see. Yeah, so excuse me. So the Innkeepers is actually already out of stock on Second Sight's website. Let me see, because this just came out. Oh wow. Let's see, yeah, the Innkeeper. It just came out in August. Wow. So August 25th, the Innkeepers 4K limited edition came out from Second Sight, as well as their Blu-ray and as well as their standard 4K release, and it's already sold out from their website. So if you want the Second Sight release of this, I would recommend getting it soon. Okay, so it looks like you do have the two audio commentaries are on the Second Sight release as well as the Umbrella release. A Lasting Memory, a new interview with Ty West. Let's make this good, a new interview with Pat Healy. Our Dysfunctional World, a new interview with Larry Fessenden. Living in the Process, a new interview with director of photography Elliot Rocket. Cast a Wide Net, a new interview with composer Jeff Grace. A Validating Moment, a new interview with line producer Jakob Jafke. The Innkeepers behind the scenes. All right, so some crossover there between the two. Let's see. Yeah, what you don't get is you do not get the Alexander Helen Nicholas commentary, and you don't get the Martin Quintero on the Innkeepers commentary, but you do get the other two, and you get some other special features too from the set. And you get some other. The Second Sight release has some other features as well. So it's a little bit give or take depending on what you want. So that's the Innkeepers, the Ty West film, and then we have Chain Reactions. So Chain Reactions is a relatively brand new documentary. It came out last year, 2024. So, and this is all about, I mentioned it earlier in the show, this is all about the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre film. And this movie is broken up into segments of different people talking about the movie. And it starts off with Patton Oswalt. We have Patton Oswalt, Stephen King, Alexander Helen Nicholas, Takashi Miike, and Karen Kusama. So you get a cross section of various different people in the movie space. In the movie space. So hitchhike back to the Sawyer residence with Chain Reaction, the retrospective documentary on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre from Alexander O. Philippe, who directed the Oz Lynch documentary, which has a Criterion release. And like I said, this was in celebration of the 50th anniversary of the release of the movie. Yeah, it's exactly what I just said. It's a documentary, broken up into different sequences by all these, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, and yeah, it's 5 people that I want to hear talk about movies. And so I loved it. It's 5 people that I want to hear talk about movies and stuff. Ironically, I think the weakest segment of all this may have been the Stephen King segment, and I'm a big fan of Stephen King and his work. Heck, I literally just finished reading a Stephen King book today, as of like an hour ago of this recording. Well, a couple of hours before I started recording, I finished a Stephen King book. So I've been making my way slowly through all of Stephen King's bibliography over the last few years. So I literally just finished it. I've read the book Holly. I've been reading all of the Holly Gibney books, starting with the Mr. Mercedes trilogy. I read The Outsider. I read the short story that was in, oh goodness, what was it? I have to look it up now because it's going to drive me absolutely crazy if I don't look it up. It's the one, hold on, let me go to my Goodreads. Tell you, I think about this stuff all the time, and then I get on camera, and my mind completely erases. Let's see. If It Bleeds. So there's a collection of short stories called If It Bleeds, and one of them is called If It Bleeds, and it's about the character of Holly Gibney and one of her and a case that she goes on. Of course, The Outsider was an HBO series. So and then Mr. Mercedes was also a series as well, ironically so. And And if you're familiar with Stephen King's work, it's been adapted into movies, TV shows, miniseries, over and over again for the last 40 years. Even earlier than that, last 50 years actually, starting with Carrie. It's been going all the way back to the 1970s. So he's very much in the movie realm as well as books and stuff like that. But as I was saying, coincidentally, I thought that Stephen King segment was the one that may have been the weakest and the less interesting in terms of what he had to say about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and what he had to say about how it impacted him and his cultural and the cultural impact in general. Excuse me again. Um, but everybody else I thought was great. Takashi Miike was fascinating to hear him talk about this movie, and especially um his relationship with the movie and how it's impacted his work. Patton Oswalt, who's been a gigantic movie buff forever. Um, and then of course Karen Kusama, I think, was the most interesting. The way in which she approached this movie and the way in which she views this movie and how it's not only impacted her work, but just the things she was saying made me even more of a big fan of Karen Kusama. If you don't know who Karen Kusama is, she is a great director, in my opinion. A great director. She directed the movie Destroyer a few years ago with Nicole Kidman. She directed Girl Fight, which coincidentally also has a Criterion release as well. That's the movie with Michelle Rodriguez. It's an early movie in her career, but Destroyer with Nicole Kidman, I think, is really, really good. And then she also directed probably her most famous movie is the one with Megan Fox. Um, the one did she direct? Hold on, let me check. Yeah, I'm on the director. I don't know why it's not up there because it's got to be Jennifer's Body. Yeah, Jennifer's Body, which is still to this day still discussed, still talked about. I actually saw people dressed up as Megan Fox for Halloween. Her character from that movie. I see that every single year, and Jennifer's Body is fascinating to me because the movie's gotten kind of a reappraisal over the last several years into this iconic feminist film, which I find endlessly fascinating. And they just talked about perhaps doing a sequel to it, which I think would be also interesting too. But Karen Kusama, I think, is a great director. She directed Eon Flux as well. She also directed a few television series that you may be aware of, like Halt and Catch Fire. Well, I just talked about The Outsider. She directed an episode of The Outsider, and she directed two episodes of Yellow Jackets as well. Dead Ringers, which is the Cronenberg movie that got turned into a series on Amazon, which I heard is very good, which I haven't seen yet. So Karen Kusama is excellent. I thought her segment was really, really good in this movie. But let me get back to what the special features are. I'm always curious what are special features for a documentary. But there's an audio commentary with the director Alexandra O'Philippe, chain discussions director Alexandra O'Philippe, and film critic and author Alexandra Heller Nicholas on chain reactions. Then chain reactions, MIFF 2025 post-screening Q&A, and that's it. But this is an interesting documentary. If you are a big fan of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original film, or even the franchise in general, I would say give this a watch. Called Chain Reactions. I don't think it's available to stream yet. I had to rent it, actually. I had to rent it on Amazon. So that was the way I had to watch it. But that is it for Umbrella. We've got all of their February releases of Suicide Club, Lesbian Space Princess, The Horseman, The Innkeepers, and Chain Reactions. And I think that's it. Let me go. Yeah, hold on. Let me check my notes to make sure I had all of those. Yep, that's all of that from there. I've done Imprint, I've done Umbrella. Let's see, I've done Kino. Let's go over to Eureka. Yeah, Eureka is the last of the slates, and then there are a couple of individual ones I want to talk about, and then we'll go to Criterion. All right, then. So I have the Eureka. Yes, I do. I have Eureka up. January releases for Eureka. So, January releases. Here we go. So we have King of Beggars from 1992, Cloud and Charisma, two films by Kiyoshi Kurosawa, one from 1999 and one from 2024, and then we have Full Moon High. So the only one of these I did not get to see was King of Beggars, but I saw the other ones. So let's start off with King of Beggars. Why not? Description: at the dawn of the 1990s, following a decade in which Hong Kong martial arts cinema was dominated by Jackie Chan and Sammo Hung, a new superstar emerged, Stephen Chow. Chow rose to fame as the star of both the Fight Back to School and Royal Tramp series and King of Beggars, a comedic take on the story of famed martial artist and folk hero So Chan. So Chan is naturally gifted martial artist, but lazy, unmotivated, and spoiled by his wealthy parents. He is forced to make something of himself when he falls in love with Yu Shang, a prostitute who agrees to marry him on one condition: that he enters and wins the upcoming Imperial Martial Arts tournament. So Chan only hopes to win Yu Shang's hand in marriage, but entering the competition soon leads him to become embroiled in a bitter feud between the famed Beggar clan and a corrupt government official. There you go. For special features, the new 2K restoration of the film. There's Cantonese audio, obviously an English dub and English subtitles as well. New audio commentary with East Asian cinema expert Frank Zhang. Beggars and Tramps, new interview with director Gordon Chan. So Chan and Stephen Chow, new video essay by East Asian cinema scholar Gary Bettinson, co-editor of the Cinema of Stephen Chow. A theatrical trailer, there's a O-card slipcase with new artwork by Sam Gibney, limited to 2,000 copies. There is a booklet as well featuring new writing on The King of Beggars and director Gordon Chan by Andy Willis. And this is coming out in the US on January 27th and the UK January 26th. I don't have anything to say about the movie because I haven't seen it, but I have seen both of these two next films. This is Cloud and Charisma, two films by Kiyoshi Kurosawa. I have to say, I'm becoming a bigger fan of Kiyoshi Kurosawa over the last, several years as I've been doing Chasing Labels, because I've been talking about more and more and seeing more and more of his work. So, a revered author noted for his deliberate pacing and haunted, methodical style, Kiyoshi Kurosawa is the celebrated filmmaker behind a string of modern classics, including Cure, Pulse, Tokyo Sonata, and Creepy. I just talked about Creepy recently. Collected here are two more great works by this master of psychological cinema, Charisma and Cloud. Charisma follows Goro Yabuke, an overworked police officer who leaves his job behind after he fails to resolve a hostage situation, resulting in the deaths of both a high-profile politician and his captor. Reeling from this incident, he seeks solitude in a mountain forest where he finds himself at the center of a conflict over an enigmatic tree that the locals have named Charisma. So what happens in that movie is exactly what it just says. There are some people who want to. So what's happening is, the tree. If you leave the tree in, it's going to poison the rest of the forest. If you remove the tree, it's going to save the rest of the forest. And then there is a third party that wants to remove the tree and sell it or whatever. Like if there's a rich person that wants it or something like that. I forget what the issue is. But either way, this man Goro is caught in the middle of all of this stuff. Talk about trying to get away and then falling from the frying pan into the fire, essentially. And the movie is kind of all about this interplay between these characters, and of course, it's dealing with life philosophies on, as you can tell, just from this philosophical, thought-provoking incident that is going on. Now, in Cloud, completely different movie. So in Cloud, factory worker Ryusuke Yoshi quits his job to pursue a new career as an unscrupulous online reseller, becoming increasingly ruthless as he turns a profit from desperate customers. Eventually, though, those customers have had enough of being ripped off by Yoshi and go looking for him to exact their revenge. So that movie is actually from 2024. I believe it was submitted by Japan for their entry into Oscar nominations, and it did not get nominated. That is streaming currently on the Criterion channel as of this recording. It could change at any moment with streaming, who knows. But that movie is incredibly modern in what it's dealing with. It's got some issues, in my opinion. It's what it's trying to say, I think, is incredibly modern, and it's very much kind of an anti-capitalist thematic film. It's also anti being a complete piece of garbage and taking advantage of other people for your own personal gain type of movie. But I feel like the motivations and the escalations and getting from point A to point B of the plot is not quite all there. Um, but the stuff that's there is good, but just the buildup and the creation of it is kind of not there when it could have been. Like it just says here, the people banding together to get revenge on this guy. I thought that could have been better handled in terms of their motivations, in terms of the built up to what they want to do ultimately for to get their revenge and whatnot. And it's just kind of not there in the movie. So I'm like, where is all of this coming from? It comes out of nowhere, kind of. And yeah, so it kind of threw me for a loop. And I'm like, this is going it's going from A to Z very fast. But good movie, good acting, good theme work, great filmmaking. Kiyoshi Kurosawa is a great filmmaker. Cure is put out by the Criterion Collections and put out by a couple of other companies as well. Great film. Cure is one of the best movies of the 90s, in my opinion. It's really fantastic. But let's see what we have here for special features. 2-disc set, high definition presentations of both films. It's Japanese audio for both films as well. Charisma has a 2.0 LPCM, and Cloud has a 5.1 DTS HD master. I find that interesting. Both of these movies are made 25 years apart, which is fascinating as well. New audio commentaries on both Charisma and Cloud by Japanese cinema expert Jonathan Root. Cerebral Cinema, new video essay exploring the work of Kiyoshi Kurosawa by Japanese cinema expert Joe Hickenbottom. And that's it. Just 2 special features. Just an audio commentary and a special feature. It's got a limited edition slipcase. We have a booklet featuring writing on Charisma and Cloud by East Asian film expert and Midnight Eye co-founder Tom Mess. I'm friends with Tom Mess, I think, on Facebook. I believe so. This is coming out January 26th, and this is a UK release only. That would lead me to believe that somebody else has the rights here. I'm curious who. Who has the rights to these 2 movies here? Could it be... Let's see. Could it be Criterion? It very well could. Very well could. This could have gotten a Criterion... yes, they do. I'm looking on Blu-ray.com right now, and if you go to the Region A release of Cloud that just says early 2026, it says Criterion has the release. Well, we know it's not part of their January titles. I can tell you that. But I'm surprised it's not getting I said Janus Contemporaries, but a Criterion Premieres release is not what it's now called. Oh, man. So, let's see. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So, and now we go to completely different realm in Full Moon High. So Full Moon High is it's a teen angst comedy from 1981, I think. Description: 4 years before the release of Teen Wolf in the same year that saw the release of An American Werewolf in London and The Howling, Larry Cohen, the maverick independent filmmaker behind the cult classics It's Alive, The Stuff, and The Ambulance, took a werewolf to high school in Full Moon High, a high-energy horror comedy homage to the teen-oriented genre pictures of the 1950s, and it very well is. The year is 1960, and high school football star Tony, portrayed by Adam Arkin, is living with his conservative CIA agent father, Colonel William Walker, who's portrayed by Ed McMahon. As you can tell, it's getting weird. The relationship takes a turn for the worse when Tony accompanies the Colonel on a diplomatic trip to Romania. What's in Romania? Transylvania. And what is notoriously in Transylvania? Weird things that go bump in the night. But in this case, it's not vampires, it's werewolves. And Tony is promptly bitten by a werewolf, transforming the teenager into a monster. Upon returning to America, Tony's newfound curse causes his behavior to spiral out of control, and he is forced to leave his small town behind. He eventually returns 20 years later in 1980, but a marked side effect of his curse is that he doesn't look a day older than when he left. No matter how much the world has changed, Tony is forever a teenage werewolf. And that's the rub of it all. That's the thing of it all, is that Tony is the same age as when he was turned into a werewolf. He doesn't age. So he leaves his hometown and then he comes back 20 years later, and all of his friends and people he knew in high school are now 20 years older. And he decides, I'm going to enroll back in my old high school and get my life redemption of playing in the big football game. Yeah, it's a weird, dumb movie. It's a weird, dumb movie. But what is also so weird and dumb about it is that at one point, um, Alan Arkin shows up in the last 20 minutes of the movie as a psychiatrist. And then also at one point, Pat Morita, who of course would go on to be in The Karate Kid as Mr. Miyagi, runs like this antique metalworking shop or something, and he's gonna make silver bullets. Yeah, what a weird movie. What a weird movie. I know it's been released before, so it's not the first time that it's seen. I think this is a bit of also like a cult movie as well, like a cult 80s comedy. Yeah, Full Moon High has been released in 2018 by Shout Factory, and I think that's out of print at this point. And that came with a commentary with the writer director and filmmaker Steve Mitchell, and that is it. So let's see what this release has. So this release has a high definition presentation, um, new audio commentary by Steve Mitchell, director of the 2017 documentary King Cohen, uncompressed LPCM audio, archival audio commentary with director Larry Cohen, moderated by Steve Mitchell. So I'm assuming that same audio commentary from that Shout Factory release. Growing Pains, a new video essay on the history and evolution of the teenage werewolf on film by werewolf expert Kaja Frank, author of the Eco-Gothic Werewolf in Literature. Today's Teenage Werewolf, a new interview with film writer Michael Doyle, author of Larry Cohen, The Stuff of Goods and Monsters. And then that's it. You get there's a limited edition slipcase. There's a booklet with writings in it as well. This is coming out January 19th. And this is, I believe this is a UK release only because it only has the UK release date. But that's Full Moon High. I like, I've only seen a couple of Larry Cohen's work. I know he's a big cult director for a lot of people. The Stuff, which I think just got an Arrow release of all things. The Ambulance, which is another one of the movies that I got to watch and talk about here on Chasing Labels recently. But yeah, that's Full Moon High. So Eureka, January releases. We've got King of Beggars, Cloud and Charisma, 2 films by Kiyoshi Kurosawa, and Full Moon High. Those are all coming out in January from Eureka. So moving back over to what I was talking about before, I think all we've got is a couple of individual releases and then Criterion, and then we're good. What are we doing on time here? All right, we are 2 hours and 22 minutes in. What a coincidence, 222. So let's talk. Let me actually have to look these up, actually. So let me go over to the Mondo Macabro is having their Halloween sale right now, but they're also having some announcements that they're doing in tandem with their Halloween sale. Special shout out to our buddy Jared Honor over at Mondo Macabro doing some good work, who is here on Chasing Labels. Oh, they had an announcement today. I'll just include that in. I don't know anything about them, but I'll include that in. But other 2 announcements that I wanted to bring up. The first announcement here is of the movie. Let's see. First up is the uncanny 70s Euro horror classic The Devil's Nightmare, making its worldwide 4K debut in a new restoration from the original camera negative. I think they had released this on Blu-ray years ago, so this is a re-release from them. A busload of tourists on holiday discover that they are going on an unscheduled trip, a trip into the macabre. They find themselves lost and in the need of food and shelter. A gloomy castle ahead seems to be the refuge that they have been seeking. What they don't know is that Baron von Runberg, the castle's owner, lives under an ancient family curse, one that will draw the unsuspecting guest into a terrifying game of death. As they enjoy a splendid meal at the Baron's table, a beautiful stranger arrives at the castle and the nightmare begins. Now, this is available to stream currently on Tubi, so you can check that out there. For special features, we have choice of the English or French audio with optional English subtitles, 2000, 2160p presentation of the film from a new 4K scan of the original camera negative, uh, interview with star Erica Blank, interview with director Jean Brismet, interview with assistant director slash second unit director Robert Lamberts. Yeah, Lamberts. Interview with avant-garde filmmaker and Belgian cinema insider Roland Leffem. Video essay profiling actor Daniel Emilfork by Christophe Beer. Mr. Plateau, Jean Brismet's Cannes Award-winning short film. Audio commentary with Troy Haworth. Original trailers and TV spots. Publicity parade, original trailers and TV spots. Limited edition features. Exclusive slipcover, reversible inner sleeve featuring art by, oh boy, I can't pronounce this. Gilles Vranck. Limited to 1,500 copies. Devil's Nightmare goes on sale on Thursday, October 30th at 9 a.m. Pacific Time, 12 noon Eastern, as part of our annual Halloween sale, only at mondomacabro.bigcartel.com. So I know that the limited editions do tend to sell out very, very quickly for their Halloween sale stuff every single year. So if you're a big Mondo Macabro fan, you may want to make a mental note, put a note in the calendar on your phones, or if you have a wall calendar at home, you may want to do that as well to get in on this before everybody scoops up all the copies. And then next we've got a double feature. So the second Halloween sale announcement, we have, let's see, they actually have a total of 5. They've only announced, I think, 3 so far. Let's see. Next up is a wild Blu-ray double feature featuring 2 stone cold classics of Indonesian trash horror, Mystics in Bali and Queen of Black Magic. Mystics in Bali from 1981. In the Mystic East, they like their films upfront and gory. This Indonesian creature feature will leave Western viewers stunned with its audacious plot and outrageous shock scenes. A young American woman on holiday in Bali becomes fascinated by the tales of local black magic cult known as the Layak. She seeks out a Layak witch and attempts to learn her secrets. Needless to say, it all goes horribly wrong. Be warned, you've never seen a film like this before. And then for Queen of Black Magic from 1981, this was one of the first Asian horror films to be widely released on video in the US. Its crazy special effects and wild gore sequences were unique at the time and are still eye-popping today. The story is set in the exotic countryside of the far-off Indonesia. A wedding ceremony goes dreadfully wrong, and the groom suspects black magic. He seeks out the woman he believes is responsible, and she is hurled to death over a high cliff. All right, then. She is rescued from the dark jungle by a strange hermit. He tells her that she must seek revenge. They accused her of black magic. Now she must learn to use that magic against them and become Queen of Evil. Both films are making their worldwide HD debut. So the features are they're both region free, choice of English or Indonesian audio with optional English subtitles. Introduction to both features by filmmaker Yoko Anwar. Video essay by Monsters, Movies, and Myths by Jake Gallo. Extended 2-hour version of Mystics in Bali, Indonesian language with optional English subtitles. Original trailer for Mystics in Bali. Then limited edition features are 2-disc set, exclusive slipcover, and reversible inner sleeve with new art by Julian Yates. Yeah. Booklet with original writing on the film, numbered to 1,500. Yet again, 9 a.m. and or 12 noon Eastern start time of the Halloween sale on the 30th, which is this Thursday. That's this Thursday. Let's see. There is another announcement. Actually, another 2 announcements they had today. So let's see. Yeah, this is the 3rd announcement. Or 3rd release, sorry. And 3rd announcement, 3rd release. It's the same thing. So we're back today with the 3rd release of our big Halloween sale limited edition slate. This time it's the crazy 60s Euro horror slash drive-in staple Island of the Doomed, also known as Island of the Dead, also known as Man-Eater of Hydra. Gee, that third one kind of went off the rails. My goodness, they were just like forget the whole island thing. We're just gonna be Man-Eater of Hydra, or Man-Easter of Hydra. Either way, it's crazy. A group of tourists arrive to see the botanical gardens on a small island off the coast of Spain. The only inhabitants of the island are the famous botanist Baron von Wieser and his two faithful servants. All of the other residents fled after a series of mysterious deaths. When the car driven by the tourist guide hits one of the Baron's servants, von Wieser explains that the death was due to a rare and incurable disease, not the accident. That night, the guide and Cora Robinson, one of the guests, are found murdered with all of the blood drained from their bodies. Is there a serial killer at the large, or is this becoming even more dangerous? Well, my guess is there's a serial killer at large. Um, let's see what we got here for special features for this. So, region-free disc, 4K restoration of the best available 35mm materials. Choice of Spanish or English audio with optional English subtitles. Interview with writer-director Mel Wells. Audio commentary by David Flint. Documentary on the career of actor George Martin. Documentary on horror films produced in Costa Brava area. Original trailer. Publicity parade. Let's see. Reversible sleeve with original art on each side. Full color booklet. Set of lobby card reproductions. 1,200 numbered copies. Yeah. And then the sale starts on Thursday. I think that was it, because that was when was that announced? That was announced 6 hours ago, according to their Facebook page. So that is it for Mondo Macabro. That is it for Mondo Macabro. I like to bring up their releases whenever I get a chance. Small company. I think it's really only run by two guys. Our buddy Jared Honor is there, who was gracious enough to be on our podcast a couple of years ago. Super, super awesome dude. I'm also friends with him on Facebook, coincidentally. So let's see what else we have here. Before I go over to did I not put that? Oh yeah, there's. Let me go over to. There's two box sets I want to talk about, but before I do that, I want to go over to a documentary that's coming out. That's something that's very near and dear and personal to me, and that is The Secret Mall Apartment is getting a Blu-ray release that came out a year ago. It's a documentary that came out last year. Secret Mall Apartment came out in 2024. Music Box Films is putting this out on Blu-ray. It's coming out November 18th. And this is the documentary that I don't know if I've talked about here on Chasing Labels, but it's about my local mall. So back in 2013, 8 Rhode Island artists created a secret apartment inside the busy Providence Place Mall and lived there for 4 years. So they lived there from 2003 to 2007. Now, this mall is our local mall here in Rhode Island. Well, it's the big mall that it's in downtown Providence, which is the capital of Rhode Island. And this mall took years to get built. It took years and years to get built, and it came out, I think, in 1999. Had its grand opening in 1999. It's been a fixture there ever since. And there was a lot of local political hubbub about it, a lot of political things going on about it, all kinds of stuff that were hinted at and kind of told here in this documentary. And then, but this documentary is also primarily about these 8 Rhode Island art students. I think they were art students at the time, and they found this area, this hidden area in the mall, and they created an apartment there, and they lived there for 4 years. And this documentary is about that, but it's also about so much more. There's a lot of segments in here about the art house scene in Providence and the artistic scene in Providence. For those of you not from Rhode Island, or know nothing about Rhode Island whatsoever or about Providence, Providence is a very much a college town. Providence has a lot of colleges in it, so there's a lot of students, there's a lot of art, there's a lot going on in it. Just to give you a hint, Rhode Island's not that big. Rhode Island only has about 1 million people in it. and the cities and the towns are very small. And Providence is one of the bigger ones because it is the capital. And within Providence alone, there are several colleges. Most prominently known is Brown University. Brown University being a big Ivy League school, and also attached to Brown is RISD, the Rhode Island School of Design. People from around the world come to the Rhode Island School of Design. Many famous people have gone to the Rhode Island School of Design. Many famous people have gone to Brown. Emma Watson from Harry Potter fame went to Brown. Many people have gone to Brown. Seth MacFarlane went to RISD. The creator of Family Guy and American Dad, and director of movies like Ted and whatnot. But anywho, so Providence is a very artsy town, and so these people living in there, in the mall, were very much part of that scene. So this movie delves into kind of the artsy scene of the town, the political things of the town, the culture of the city, and all that kind of stuff. And it's also very much a time capsule piece of the early to mid 2000s, a time in which it was very formative for me. I was born in 1987, so in 2003, I would have been 16. So so the footage that's in this movie would have been from 16 up until the time I was 20. So those mid to late teenage years. So watching footage of this mall at that time brought back so many memories for me. And watching footage of the city at that time brought up so many memories for me. And I get very nostalgic about time and the passage of time and things like that because of certain reasons. Steven gets on my case about it all the time. It's like me and Christopher Nolan have this whole thing about time. I don't know what's going on. But anywho, this documentary is phenomenal. If you've not seen Secret Mall Apartment, check it out if you haven't. It's getting a Blu-ray release, like I said, November 18th. I will be getting it. They didn't list off any special features here, so I don't know if there's going to be any special features, but this was executive produced by Jesse Eisenberg. It's directed by Jeremy Workman. There's a lot of local filmmakers here as well in Rhode Island. There's a relatively big Rhode Island indie filmmaking scene. A lot of movies are shot here in Rhode Island. J.J. Abrams was just here last month shooting his latest movie with Glenn Powell. So like there's a lot going on here for such a small state. But Secret Mall Apartment, check it out. I think it was one of the best documentaries of last year. So I want to make sure to shout that out. November 18th, Blu-ray release. What else do we have here? Oh, I wanted to also go over to Deaf Crocodile. Deaf Crocodile is putting on a box set that they mentioned a few months ago, but now they've given us all kinds of details about it. And this is if I could bring it up here, but let's see. Where are you, box set? Where are you? See, I had all that great build up, and I think I may have to look it up. Hold on. Ba-ba-ba-bum. Oh yeah, 3x Tuvo Tulio. That's what it is. I'm on their website. I'm on their website right now. There it is. There's the box set. Yeah, 3x Tuvo Tulio 3-disc deluxe limited edition. Now these are 3 Finnish films. From Finland, obviously. Directed all by Tuvo Tullio. So a mad, dreamlike combination of surrealist imagery and unhinged emotional intensity. The films of Finnish director Tuvo Tullio are melodramas untethered from any sense of naturalism or narrative logic or often good taste, operating in the same glorious hallucinatory space as the subversive Brechtian melodramas of Douglas Sirk and R.W. Fassbender. That makes it Rainer Werner Fassbender. They are in a world widely entertaining, unearthly, operatic, and totally addictive, streaked with film noir and near expressionist horror tropes, and doused with tears and booze, prostitution and poison. His work has been rediscovered and restored in recent years by KAVI, the National Audiovisual Institute of Finland, for his first worldwide Blu-ray release from Deaf Crocodile. And so you've got three movies in here. You have Cross of Love, Restless Blood, and Sensuela. I was only able to see Restless Blood and um, Cross of Love. I was able to track down and watch those two. Not in the best condition, so these restorations are probably going to be miracles. Probably going to be miracles. Keep in mind, these are Finnish films. Uh, these first two here, Cross of Love and Restless Blood, are two Finnish films from the 1940s. Sensuela is from 1973. So we're talking about decades ago. Cross of Love, a grizzled old lighthouse keeper, Oscar Tangstrom, spends his nights talking to his parrot surrounded by German expressionist shadows. This starts off like The Lighthouse. I immediately thought of Robert Eggers' The Lighthouse, because this guy is insane. And he's talking to his parrot, and he's talking to shadows, and he's talking to pictures and picture frames. He is a hermit crazy man living in a lighthouse. There are deeper shadows in his mind. When he hears a drowning man out on the rocks, he grabs a rifle and shoots him. When he learns why he hates strangers as we learn why he hates strangers as he reveals the story of his daughter Rita. So what happens is there's this other guy who brings in this dude who this guy shot at, and then tells him, hey, yeah, this guy's an old crazy hermit, but there's a reason for it. And he tells him this long story of the lighthouse keeper's daughter Rita. And what happens to the lighthouse keeper's daughter Rita is a stranger washes up here one day and basically takes her from him. There's this businessman that washes up who is he's injured, and they nurse him back to health, and Rita and him fall in love, and he leaves and then comes back, and then she leaves with him and essentially runs away from this lighthouse keeper who, uh in her defense, is this really conservative, oppressionistic father who doesn't want his daughter to leave the island. Okay, so she leaves, and then pitfalls end up uh, occurring in her life. Like bad things end up starting happening, and all kinds of stuff kind of fall apart from there on. Needless to say, leaving this island doesn't go very well for her. And and this movie is very melodramatic. A lot of German expressionistic type of style in it. Um, it also very much feels like a silent film too. So from the two of these movies that I saw, they felt so silent film-esque, which I absolutely loved. And then you have Restless Blood. So Restless Blood, blonde wife Sylvie seems to have an ideal marriage to playboy doctor husband Walter, despite his innocent flirtations with her kid sister, until her young son is killed by a speeding bus. She drinks poison in desperation. She survives but loses her sight. Her kid sister returns, and now the grieving husband is interested in more than flirting. So what happens is tragedy brings about more tragedy, or brings about more bad things. So you've got this couple and this kid sister, and immediately the kid's sister's kind of enamored with this older guy, but her sister is in love with him as well, and they end up going off and getting married and having a little kid. And this little son, just happens to wander into the street and gets hit by a bus and dies. And of course, we've seen that in modern world, where the death of a child can lead to a relationship being strained, relationships ending, bad things happening as a result of that. And this movie is very much commenting on that back in 1946. And yet again, this movie is heavily melodramatic in that regard. Very Douglas Sirk-esque, very much like Werner Fassbender, who took a lot from Douglas Sirk in that melodrama regard. But this movie takes a turn downward and spirals into insanity, because this woman tries to drink poison, and as a result, things just get worse for her. She loses her sight, loses her marriage, and not only loses her marriage, but loses her marriage to her sister. This is some dark, twisted stuff from 1940s. This is like pre-code stuff. This is like U.S. Hollywood pre-code stuff done in Finland in the 1940s. By this time in Hollywood history, we had the Hays Code put in. Things couldn't get as dark as they used to be during the early 1930s, but it feels like that. And you have a little bit of the 1920s silent film era aesthetic to it all. It's wondrous stuff. I loved it. I absolutely love this stuff. So this is a box that I'm very much interested in getting, just for these two films alone. Now I did not get to see Sensuela, so this is the third film I did not get to see. Um, let's see. I do want to say she's from. Let's see. I want to get the substance, the synopsis. So Sensuela, I think, is a remake of, let's see, Tullio's notorious last film and arguably his greatest achievement. Sensuela opens on reindeer herder's daughter Layla saving badly wounded German World War II pilot Hans. So Sensuela is a remake of Cross of Love. Yes, it's a remake of Cross of Love. Opens on reindeer herder's daughter Layla saving badly wounded German World War II pilot Hans. Hans quickly seduces her off to the big city where she descends into polyester maelstrom of fabulous clothes and nudie photography and hippie orgies. So, like I said, things go crazy after she leaves this area. She runs off with this guy. So, yeah, I don't want to say more about it because I'll just give away the plot of two films. But needless to say, things spiral out of control for this woman in Sensuela. So all three films are in Finnish with English subtitles. The only remaining fragments from Tullio's early features struggle for the House of Hikila from 1936, which is 9 minutes long. That's a special feature on here. And then and Fall Asleep When Young from 1937, which is 22 minutes long. A short documentary, A French Discovery, Neurona Nukunat, which is 7 minutes long, by director Yanni Hotterholm on preserving the fragment of Fall Asleep When Young. Two Finnish educational films from the 1940s, I Would Like to Be a Queen and Shelters from Newborns, a rare trailer for the Swedish language version of Cross of Love. Oh, I forgot to tell you guys. So while there were Finnish versions of these movies, there were also Swedish versions of these movies being made at the same time, at least for Cross of Love and for Restless Blood. They were both there. So there's a Finnish version and there's Swedish versions, and they were both made at the same time. Let's see. We have a yes, I said rare trailer for the Swedish language version of Cross of Love. New audio commentaries by Dr. Eloise Ross, Rolf Giesen, and Heidi Honeycutt. New visual essay by Raynard Keel and Ryan Verrill. Hey, Ryan Verrill and Dr. Will Dotson. We know them. New artwork by Beth Morris. Blu-ray authoring by David Mackenzie at Fidelity Motion, another fan of ours, or another friend of ours, I should say. Deluxe bonus edition content includes 60-page booklet, new essay by Alexander Howell Nicholas, new essay by Walter Chaw, new essay by Dr. Eloise Ross, new essay by Vinia Michaela, slipcase featuring new artwork by Sam Smith. Limited to 1,900 units. Okay, so that is the Deaf Crocodile release. Now, when is that coming out? So this 3x Tuvio Tullio 3 disc deluxe limited edition is coming out. Says on or near November 25th, maybe slightly later. Okay, pre-orders are being taken now on the deafcrocodile.com website. All right. So that is Deaf Crocodile. Once again, Deaf Crocodile is doing things no one else is doing. Who is putting out Finnish films from the 1940s? Nobody. Nobody's even thinking of putting out Finnish films from the 1940s, except for Deaf Crocodile, apparently. So we got them. We got them going. Let's see what else we've got here. Oh, there is a box set from our friends over at Treasured Films, and this is a big box set, and I don't know anything about it. So let me go over to their website and just give a hopefully not too long release. Let's see if I can find it. Let's see. Oh, first up here. It's called Gialli Guns and Gore, The Brutal Films of Darren Ward. Limited edition Blu-ray box set. Limited of 2,000 units. Let's see. It says here the exhaustive set collects the entire output of the John Woo of Southampton, Darren Ward, whose high octane and ultra violent features deliver no holds barred gunplay, heaps of gore, and fiercely independent love letters to Italian genre cinema. Treasured Films are proud to present our debut 3-disc Blu ray box set featuring Ward's 3 feature films, but also his many shorts, with each disc loaded with extras in this much treasured limited edition. So let's see. Limited edition contents include illustrated booklet with interview and career retrospective essay by Tom Lee Rutter, and brand new box artwork by it looks like Ian Sheedy at Uncle Frank Productions. Web store exclusive set of 3 postcards signed by Darren Ward. Web store exclusive of double-sided Beyond Fury poster. And let's see, the 3 features are Sudden Fury, A Day of Violence, and Beyond Fury. And each disc, I'm not going to go through all of these because I don't know any of this, and I'm starting to get incredibly fatigued. I still have to go through all of Criterion. So, from a special features perspective, each disc has special. Each disc contains the movie as well as special features, and I believe, yeah, I believe these are all making their worldwide debuts, or at least making their debuts. For example, Sudden Fury from 1997, newly remastered and graded in 720 HD and making its worldwide Blu-ray debut. Uncompressed English DTS HD mastered audio commentary with Darren Ward and Nick Rendell. Sudden Fury, 12 Years On, retrospective documentary. Crime Trilogy Part 1, Sudden Fury interview with Ward looking back on the film, deleted scenes, outtakes. Then you get 3 early short films here as well. A Day of Violence, newly graded and making its UK debut. Making of a Day of Violence full-length feature, behind the scenes, audio commentary with Darren Ward and Rick Rendell. There's Crime Trilogy Part 2, A Day of Violence. The Crime Trilogy, The In-Between Years, Darren Ward on Making Nightmares. Deleted scenes, outtakes, looks like trailers. Yes. And then you've got the Disc 3, which is Beyond Fury from 2019. And it's making its UK Blu-ray debut, behind the scenes featurette, audio commentary with Darren Ward and Nick Rendell. And then you have the Crime Trilogy Part 3, Beyond Fury. Darren Ward looks back on making the film. It looks like a Chainsaw Fun featurette, Gaswork visual effects reel, the Crime Trilogy props tour, a short film called Passion from 2025, which is now, and then there's an audio commentary for that. This is a region-free, these are all region-free, apparently. So that's it. I've never heard of these movies. I've never heard of this filmmaker, but yet again, with the boutique labels, you're discovering new stuff all the time. You're discovering new stuff all the time. And our buddies over at Treasured Films do this stuff all the time. So that is it for Gialli, Guns, and Gore, the brutal films of Darren Ward. Limited edition Blu-ray box set. You can get that over if you want to check out more details on it over at treasuredfilms.co.uk. Let's see. I think now. Let's see. I talked about all of that. And now we will go over to Criterion. Yes, we will go over to Criterion. So Criterion recently had their flash sale, which I did pick up something during the flash sale. Okay, I was hoping it would come in time for this week's episode, or for this episode of Chasing Labels, but it did not. And I bought the Pasolini 101 Blu-ray box set. So I cashed in all of my rewards certificates that they sent. If you are a subscriber of the Criterion channel, they send you here and there. They send you little gift certificates and stuff like that you can then cash in on on Criterion.com for stuff. People usually save them for flash sales, but the most recent ones actually now have expiration dates on them. And one of the expiration dates actually happened to be Halloween. October 31st. So I was like, oh, I might as well, I have to use this one. So I might as well use them all and get a box set that I've been wanting to get. So I cashed in all the ones that had not expired yet and the ones that were expiring either this month or expiring sometime in the future. And I said, hey, let's go all in. Let's go full tilt boogie. And I got the Pier Paolo Pasolini 101 Blu-ray box set. It came out 2 years ago, I think in June of 2023, and I've been wanting it ever since. I talked about it when it came out. I don't have any Pasolini in my collection whatsoever. I don't have Teorama. I don't have Mama Roma. I don't have Salo. I don't have any Pasolini, but I know of his work. I've watched his work. I mean, if you've been a Criterion fan, you know Pier Paolo Pasolini just by name alone. So I finally got that box set, and I can't wait till I get it. I think I want to do a review of it when I get it. I know I always say that, but I got to start doing reviews of some of these things because I really, really want to. Um, I just need extra motivation. I need extra motivation and extra energy. I just don't have the energy to do all the stuff I want to do. But that is coming in. But in the meantime, they did also announce their January releases. So the January titles were announced, and we have Kiss of the Spider Woman, Birth. House Party is being moved from November to January. That's something of note. We already talked about House Party, so that we don't really have to talk about it now because we talked about when it was originally supposed to come out, which was next month. We have The Dead, which is John Huston's last film. And then we have Caught by the Tides, which is a movie we're going to talk about. We have Captain Blood by Michael Curtiz. Finally, they answered my cinematic movie collecting prayers and put Captain Blood out on high definition. This time they went from DVD to 4K. And then we have Martin Scorsese's World Cinema Project number 5. Coincidentally, I was going to buy like the volume 1 box set I wanted to buy during the flash sale, but it sold out by the time I went to get it. So I've got to wait until the Criterion sale, which is happening next month at Barnes and Noble. Now, word through the grapevine with this sale is that it is going to be starting this Friday, Halloween, October 31st. That's kind of what I heard. I don't know if that's going to happen or if or not. Maybe it'll be fully into November. The reason why I say that is they usually like to start on Fridays with the sale. At least I think I remember they start on Fridays. Yeah, I think it's typically Fridays. Yeah, it starts on Fridays. So the next Friday after that obviously will be the first week of November. It'll be, let me move over my calendar here. Can't think of dates or times or anything like that. It will be the 7th. So who knows? It could be this Friday, it could be the 7th, could be later in November. We shall see. But keep your eyes peeled for the Criterion 50% off sale from Barnes & Noble. It is back once again. I feel like it was just here in July. But let's get into these releases. Oh, and also Yi Yi and Dead Man are getting 4K UHD upgrades. Yi Yi being the Edward Yang film, and then Dead Man being the Jim Jarmusch film are getting releases. I have both of these on Blu-ray, so I'm not really looking to upgrade these. I would recommend them. I don't think I have to go over them because they're going to have the same special features that the Blu-rays have. There's no real difference here at all. I can go get these off my shelf, and you will see. Ironically, I think I have Yi Yi behind me. Yeah, it's way at the end of my thing. So, but if you're a big Jim Jarmusch fan and you really like his more surreal films, because this is probably his most surreal film that I've seen from him, Dead Man starring Johnny Depp. Let's see. Yeah, it's a period piece. Jim Jarmusch imagined the 19th century American West as an existential wasteland, delivering a surreal reckoning with the ravages of industrialization, the country's legacy of violence and prejudice, and the natural cycle of life and death. Johnny Depp plays William Blake, who's an accountant, and it says he has hardly arrived in the godforsaken outpost of machine before he's caught in the middle of a fatal lovers' quarrel. Wounded and on the lam, Blake falls under the watch of the outcast and nobody, who guides his companion on a spiritual journey, teaching him to dispense poetic justice, along with along the way featuring austerely beautiful black and white photography by Robbie Muller and live wire score by Neil Young. And this has all the same special features that the Blu-ray has, but of course it has the a 4K restoration supervised and approved by Jim Jarmusch. So just to save time, I don't want to read everything. I will say this: I haven't seen the movie in years. Yi Yi, Edward Yang's Yi Yi is one of the greatest films of the 21st century. Probably one of the greatest films of the last several decades. Several decades. It's an extraordinarily personal movie. I can't describe the movie. It's one of those movies you can't describe how great it is because people need to experience it for themselves. That's Edward Yang. That's Edward Yang's Yi Yi. It's so extraordinary. It's getting a 4K digital restoration. It's got all the same special features from the original Blu-ray. And yeah, it's a movie you got to watch it for yourself. It's the first Edward Yang film I ever saw. I've since seen, several of his films have now gotten releases not only from Criterion, but also from other places as well. Confusion, Mahjong, A Brighter Summer Day. Those are all other Criterion releases that feature Edward Yang's work. So yeah, Yi Yi it's a masterpiece. It's a masterpiece. I can't stress this enough. This is a movie that if you're a Criterion fan, if you're a young Criterion fan who's just starting out buying Criterion films, you've got to buy Yi Yi. It needs to be in your collection. I don't say that about a lot of movies because I feel like everybody can just make up their own decisions and curate your collection the way you want it to. Do whatever you want. Do whatever you want. It's your money, it's your time, it's your space. You're your own film fan. You're your own, collector. You're your own film lover. But Yi Yi is a must-own movie. It really is. Now let's get into the Martin Scorsese's World Cinema Project #5. I didn't get to see any of these movies because, frankly, these movies are so obscure that they're not streaming anywhere. They're not available to really watch anywhere. The only way you get to see these movies is if they're shown through special screenings, really. And of course, here in this Blu-ray set. So established by Martin Scorsese in 2007, the World Cinema Project has maintained a fierce commitment to preserving and presenting masterpieces from around the globe. With a growing roster of more than 60 restorations of works by essential filmmakers, this collector's set gathers 4 groundbreaking and innovative films ranging from the epic to the intimate, from Algeria, which is Chronicle of the Years of Fire, Burkina Faso with Yam Dabo, and India with Kumati, and Kazakhstan with the Fall of Otrar. Each title is significant contribution. Each title is a significant contribution to the art form and a window onto a cinematic tradition that international audiences previously had limited opportunities to experience. Like I said, can't see these anywhere pretty much. So I didn't get to see any of these movies, and I'm kind of not even reading much of the synopses of these because these are movies, yet again, you got to experience them, I think, for yourself. And these movies are probably not going to be for everyone, but if Martin Scorsese, if it's something he recommends or puts his name on it, it's worth your time. It's worth your time. So each movie is a 4K digital. Each movie is getting a 4K digital restoration. Yeah, 4K restoration of each of the movies. New introduction to the films by World Cinema Project founder Martin Scorsese. New interviews featuring film scholar and producer. There's a bunch of them here. There's one for each movie, I think. Yes. So you get people talking about each movie. The Making of the Fall of Otrar, a new program featuring interviews with director Ardak Amirkalov and actors and art director. These are names I cannot pronounce. I'm not even going to attempt. I'm not that good. I try, but I'm not trying this. There's essays by critics and scholar Joseph Fahim, Crystal Alokol, Radik Asokan, and Kent Jones. Probably butchered those names too. But there are 4 previous box sets of these, all 4 of which I still need to get. Um, but like I said, I wanted to get volume 1. It was sold out during the flash sale. I wanted to get then I was like, "Oh, I'll get volume 2." Sold out. And then I think 3 and 4 were not sold out. But I have an OCD thing when it comes to collecting. I've got to get things in order, in a specific order, especially if it's a set of things and it's like volume 1, volume 2, etc., etc. I've got to get 1 first and then and then 2 and then 3, etc., etc. That's just my OCD thing with collecting. But that is Martin Scorsese's World Cinema Project number 5 box set. Next, we've got Caught by the Tides. In this visionary chronicle of China's turbulent new century, acclaimed director Xi Zhang embarks on a kaleidoscope odyssey across time and space, incorporating footage captured for his previous films into an entirely original, captivating epic, drawing on a 23-year collaboration between Jia and actor Zhao Tao and Li Zhubin. Caught by the Tides cast them as a pair of estranged lovers, tracking these characters across an increasingly alien China as they age in real time from the dawn of the millennium to the COVID-19 era, observing the future shock developments transforming his country. Jia constructs a sensorially immersive, emotionally profound portrait of both a world in flux and two people navigating its uncertain currents. This movie is a pure work of art. This is a pure experimental art piece of a movie from a very artistic director and an artistic filmmaker. I cannot explain why this movie is so good. You kind of just have to watch it and experience it. It's one of those types of movies. It's not going to be for everyone. You have to appreciate movies as pieces of art and expressionistic pieces of art to kind of be in the mindset for a movie like this. It's not going to be about plot. It's not going to be about characters. It's about way more than that. It's about art. It's about time. It's about the changing of cultural times in China, and it traverses the decades all the way up into somewhat modern times. So you really have to just go into the movie knowing that you're not going to be experiencing a movie in the traditional sense. With that being said, we have a special feature here, which is Meet the Filmmakers, Zhizhak, and Criterion Channel original interview. Oh, is a Criterion Channel original interview. I do want to say this is a Criterion premiere. That's why there's only one special feature and nothing else. And this movie did come out in 2024. Hence why it's a Criterion premiere. So one special feature for this really art house, interesting, fascinating movie that was film made over 20 years time frame. Think of kind of like, what's the movie by Richard Linklater? Boyhood. Kind of like that, but way less of a plot. Much less of a plot. And it's more about cultural change than it is about personal change. As opposed to Boyhood, which was chronicling the life of this boy from the time he was, a little boy, till the time, he was an early adult. Let's see. Moving on from there, we have The Dead, which is John Huston's final film. Came out in 1987, the year I was born. And this is a movie we just recently talked about because it is included, I think, in a box set put out by Imprint of John Huston's work. It's in there. So we already talked about this movie. The elegiac last film by John Huston finds the legendary director adapting a masterly short story by his favorite writer, James Joyce, into a poignant reflection on the totality of life. During a snowy winter in turn of the 20th century, Dublin, the members of an extended family convene for a night of wine, song, and celebration, but it's not until after the festivities that Greta, Angelica Houston, reveals a secret to her husband, Donald McCann, that casts the entire evening in a new light. Aglow with a mix of nostalgia and melancholy and featuring a cast of stellar Irish actors, The Dead gracefully evoke the passage of time and the haunting power of memory. Okay, for special features, a new 4K digital restoration supervised and approved by director of photography Fred Murphy, one 4K UHD disc of the film in Dolby Vision, and one Blu-ray with the film and special features. New interview with author Colin McCann, on the James Joyce short story and its adaptation for the film. New 2K restoration of John Huston and the Dubliners from 1987, a behind-the-scenes documentary by Lillian Severnich. Audio excerpts from from actor Angelica Houston's 2014 memoir. I really want to get that memoir. I've always been a big fan of Angelica Houston. Let's see, English subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing, plus an essay and author by film critic Michael Korsky, and a 1987 piece by screenwriter Tony Houston about the making of the film. Tony Houston, I think, being one of John Huston's sons, I think. But yeah, this is the final film by legendary John Huston. As someone who has a John Huston section in my collection, this is a must-buy. So there's a couple of John Huston films in the Criterion collection already. We have The Asphalt Jungle, the classic quintessential film noir. And then we have Under the Volcano, which I talked about a little while ago, which is very, very good. And you have the movie Wise Blood, which is still only available on DVD. Only available on DVD. Hopefully that will get heck, at this point, a 4K re-release at some point. Now, Wise Blood and The Dead, I think, were both made available in the Imprint John Huston box set. So if you have that already, then you kind of have both of these movies. So let's move on from there. Okay, we don't need to talk about House Party because we talked about it when it was announced. Now, this is a big release. This is kind of like, I need this now. And this is the Jonathan Glazer film Birth. This has only been at least available on DVD here in the US Region A area because I have the DVD in my collection. And I've had it for years and I've been waiting and waiting and waiting. Where is the Blu-ray of this? Well, here we go. Jonathan Glazer's second feature is a haunting cinematic enigma that explores the mysteries of the heart. Nicole Kidman delivers a masterfully multi-layered performance as Anna, a widow with still mourning the death of her husband a decade earlier, when she meets Sean, a 10-year-old boy who claims to be his reincarnation, leading her into a wrenching confrontation with her own resolved grief and desires, featuring painterly cinematography by Harris Savides, rest in peace, great cinematographer. Harris Savides was an amazing cinematographer. Go check out his Criterion Closet video, where he talks so poetically about Kieslowski's Three Colors trilogy. And a hypnotic orchestral score by Alexander Desplat. Birth plays its outre premise with unflinching sincerity, yielding a profound emotional reverie on the possibilities of love beyond the physical realm. So I believe, hold on for one moment in time, I want to get my DVD and see if there's any features on it, because I don't think there were. I want you all to know that I bought this movie for $1.99. So back in my DVD hunting days or movie hunting days, I bought this movie for $1.99 because I still have the price tag on it. I never removed the price tag. First of all, these price tags have the glue that never comes off. So I bought this for $1.99, and that's how I watched the movie for the first time. And this is kind of the only way it's been available, just one single disc, and I don't think this has any special features whatsoever. Nothing. Let's see. Nope, nothing. I'm curious when this DVD actually came out. Actually, I can probably look it up, but anywho, this is the way I've watched this movie over the years. So let's see what we got here for special features for this release, this revelatory release, if anything. Let's see. New 4K digital restoration supervised and approved by director Jonathan Glazer with 5.1 surround DTS HD master audio, one 4K UHD disc of the film presented in Dolby Vision HDR, and one Blu-ray with the film and special features. Interview from 2004 with Jonathan Glazer and actor Nicole Kidman on Charlie Rose. New documentary on the making of the film featuring behind the scenes footage and interviews with Glazer producers and members of the cast. New program on the film's cinematography featuring interviews with camera operator Craig Hogginson and first assistant cameraman Eric Swenek. And then, of course, you get a trailer. There's an essay here by Olivia Lang. And yeah, that's it. But heck, it's a heck of a lot better than nothing, which is what is on the old DVD. Now I'm just curious. Let me go take a look at when this DVD actually came out. I want to say probably when the movie came out. What you know? Let's see. Birth 2004. Let's see. Yeah. So this DVD came out in 2005, and there's no other Blu-ray release. There's no Blu-ray release anyplace else in the world until now. Yeah, so this 2005 DVD will be laid to rest once I get this Criterion 4K. I can tell you that. And this movie stars Lauren Bacall's in it, Danny Houston's in it, Anne Heche is in the film as well. This is a brilliantly haunting film. I really like Jonathan Glazer's work. I've been a big fan of his work for many, many years. I have a Jonathan Glazer section. I went over and got this there, but I also have his other film that just came out in The Zone of Interest. This is another Jonathan Glazer film, if I do recall. Yes. And I have, of course, Sexy Beast. Now, Sexy Beast is awesome. Sexy Beast is a great movie. That's a movie that I would love to see a Criterion release of, because the only release we've got of Sexy Beast is, I believe, a Twilight Time Blu-ray that I have. Let me see what else it's been released. And so it's been released in the UK twice. It's been released in 2009. It's been released in 2020. And then there was a Sexy Beast Blu-ray release here in 2013 by Twilight Time, which kind of really doesn't exist anymore, at least not the way it used to. And that's long sold out and out of print. So that's, this would be a nice release. That would be a nice release. And I believe that is Jonathan Glazer's first film, is Sexy Beast. They just did a Sexy Beast TV series as well, which I didn't check out. But there was the other film by Jonathan Glazer that I'm surprised hasn't gotten a Criterion release yet. That the one with Scarlett Johansson, that was really what got me on the whole Jonathan Glazer, hype train, if you will. Which is, what's the movie called? Under the Skin. Yeah, Under the Skin. I'm very surprised hasn't gotten at least a deluxe release from somebody at this point. Yeah, I think that was is that an early A24 movie? I believe it is. Don't quote me on that, but I believe it's an early A24 film. Yeah, I was mesmerized when that movie came out in 2013. That was around the time where I was really getting into more and more like modern surreal cinema and stuff like that. But anywho, Jonathan Glazer's work I really, really like. Speaking of A24, this is the A24 release of Zone of Interest. Coincidentally, I've had this for a while too. I think I bought these back in June for my birthday. I went and just picked up a bunch of A24 releases because these are now, they used to be store exclusives, exclusive to their website, and now they pop up in stores. They're like, Barnes & Noble has these now. Heck, Walmart used to have a couple of these as well. But yeah, let's see what else we've got here. Yeah, so that is Birth by the Jonathan Glazer film. Now we've got Kiss of the Spider Woman, which is a film I've heard of for years but never actually watched. And this is featuring indelible performances from Raul Julia and an Academy Award winning William Hurt. William Hurt won an Oscar for this film. Kiss of the Spider Woman is a work of radical compassion that boldly expands notions of love, gender, and revolution. In the film directed by Hector Babenco, following his international breakthrough with, I think it's Peyote, and adapted from the novel by the iconoclastic writer Manuel Puig, um, Julia and Hurt play Valentin and Molina, a militant leftist activist and a queer, cinema-obsessed window dresser, imprisoned together under a repressive military dictatorship. The two gradually forge a bond that transforms the way they both understand politics, sexuality, and masculinity. Blending raw realism with Molina's imaginative escapes into sumptuous movie fantasy, this searing human drama offers a powerful vision of personal liberation embedded within broader political struggle. Yes, there is a lot going on in this movie. There's a lot of deep, rich, sumptuous thematic stuff going on in this film that is rather contemporary, very contemporary actually. So it's dealing with political themes, it's dealing with personal themes, it's dealing with uh, sexual themes, it's dealing with sexual identity themes, it's dealing with all kinds of stuff. It is really incredible, deeply rich film, and it's very well acted. Raul Julia and William Hurt in this film are excellent, but specifically for me, Raul Julia is extraordinary in this movie. I think he's fantastic, and what you have in this movie are two boldly, wildly different characters. And you can see it just aesthetically in the movie, which is so well done from that regard. These two political prisoners within, I believe it's set in Brazil, which during this time frame, or at least during the time frames of the movie, is a oppressive communist country, and they were so for a very long time. And what is interesting is that you don't really get into a lot of the politics and a lot of the stuff that's going on. It's more of just kind of backdrop window dressing for the most part, because the heart of the movie is the interplay between these two actors and between these two characters. The scenes they have in this jail cell together are masterworks of acting. Masterworks. Absolutely extraordinary masterworks of acting and writing and all that kind of stuff. And just the staging of them. And like I said, the aesthetics of it couldn't be more different. The William Hurt character, who is this queer character, this aesthetically vibrant character with what he's wearing, and the way his bed is dressed, the way the walls on his side of the cell are dressed up and made up to be, versus Raul Julia's character, which is the exact opposite: dark, dreary, blank, nothing, nihilistic, um, toxic, all kinds of stuff. Man, this movie is really, really good. Just from a visual perspective and visual storytelling, you get so much from the movie. And then the acting, like I said, is extraordinary. Really, it's a movie that I had been wanting to watch for such a long time because I heard about, it's a critically well beloved film. I've seen it brought up so many times. It was nominated for best picture and stuff back in the 80s. Yeah, really good movie. And let's see what we got here for special features too. New 4K digital restoration with 5.1, let's say 5.1 DTS master audio, alternate uncompressed monaural soundtrack. Interview with Susan Jill Levine, biographer of Kiss of the Spider Woman, author Manuel Puig, about the adaptation. Tangled Web: Making Kiss of the Spider Woman from 2008, a feature-length documentary. Short program on Puig, and that is it. But you do get an essay by critic B. Ruby Rich. Now, I do think this got a Blu-ray release previously, but I could have been wrong. Let's see, Kiss of the Spider Woman. Maybe I'm thinking of something different. No, there it is, collector's edition. Oh boy, I am messing up left and right in terms of my spelling. So, Kiss of the Spider Woman did get a collector's edition back in 2008. And that was from WEA. I have no idea who that is. But that release back then doesn't look like it was aesthetically a very good transfer. And for special features, it had a 1 hour and 48 making of documentary entitled Tangle Web Making the Kiss of the Spider Woman. Let me see. Oh, that's on the Criterion release. Um, this is. I think it's got all the same special features. Yeah, it looks like it has all the same special features. Sorry, I'm just because back in 2008, the way in which Blu-ray.com structured their reviews is vastly different the way they structure them now. It's kind of absolute chaos, absolute chaos. And this was a review done back in 2008. So, Kiss of the Spider Woman has also been turned into a musical that has gone on to great critical acclaim as well. And there is a special feature on the musical that I don't think is on the Criterion. It says Kiss of the Spider Woman making the musicals an 11-minute look at the success of the film, sparking a musical stage adaptation. So that's not on the Criterion. Hmm. Okay. So I think that's the one thing that's missing. But either way, you get the movie in much better restoration, much better audio, etc., etc. Um, yeah. So that is it. Okay. That is it for everything for January when it comes to Criterion. Once more for everybody at home, Kiss of the Spider Woman, which is coming out 27th, Birth, which is coming out the 27th as well. I think there's House Party, which is coming out the 27th. The Dead, John Huston's final film, is coming out January 20th. Caught by the Tides is coming out January 20th. Captain Blood, I gotta talk about Captain Blood. Hold on. Captain Blood. I skipped over Captain Blood. Don't ask me why. I'm an idiot. But this is coming out January 20th. Martin Scorsese's World Cinema is coming out January 20th. Yi Yi and Yi Yi is coming out January 3rd. Dead Man is coming out January 6th. But let me talk about Captain Blood for a second. I don't know how I missed this one. With spectacular romantic adventure, a new era of Hollywood swashbuckling was born, as was a devilishly dashing star named Errol Flynn. He brings boundless charisma to the role of an idealistic Irish physician who declared a traitor to England and sold slavery in the New World, takes his revenge by transforming himself into the notorious pirate Captain Blood. The groundbreaking symphonic score by Eric Wolfgang Korngold, marking the emergence of the Warner Brothers music department as a vital element in the studio's movie making. The spitfire chemistry between Flynn and Olivia de Havilland in the first of their iconic pairings, the rousing naval battle finale, all come together under the expert direction of Michael Curtiz to form an exemplar classic film craftsmanship sailing full speed ahead. Okay, this is an all-time classic Warner Brothers Errol Flynn, Olivia de Havilland adventure film. It's right up there with the adventures of Robin Hood, which I would die for if Criterion got their hands on it because we need it. We have a really good-looking older Blu-ray release from like the mid to late 2000s, which looks fine, but man, it would be miraculous for a 4K release of that movie. That movie would the technicolor aesthetic of that movie in 4K would move the world to tears. Oh my goodness. It would be I'm just tearing up thinking about it. But Captain Blood has been wanted on a nice release for such a long time because I don't believe it's ever gotten a Blu-ray release at all. I could be completely wrong. Let me check before I start making assumptions. Um, so it did. It looks like it has gotten releases in the. Hold on, I don't think that's the right movie. No, it has not. Not this version. There's been other Captain Blood movies that have gotten releases, but not this Michael Curtiz version. So the Blu-ray, the DVD of this has been around for so damn long. It's been around since 2005. It was reissued in 2012. I've seen it so many times in so many stores and so many places, and just ruining the day that hoping for the day that this Blu-ray would come into fruition, and we finally have it. and we finally have it through Criterion. Let's see what the special features are. New 4K digital restoration with uncompressed monaural soundtrack, audio commentary featuring Alan K. Rody, author of Michael Curtiz of Life in Film, documentary from 2005 on the making of the movie, Lux Radio Theater adaptation of the film from 1937, starring Errol Flynn, Olivia de Havilland, and Basil Rathbone. I forgot Basil Rathbone is in here. Um, and then that's it. Oh God, that's it. I wanted so much more. I wanted so much more. You got a trailer. You get an essay by critic Farron Smith Neame, which is nice. She's awesome. And that's it. Oh man, I wanted so much more. But I'm greedy. I'm greedy when it comes to Michael Curtiz. Uh, but we're getting another Michael Curtiz film. We're getting Captain Blood finally in HD, not only on Blu-ray but in 4K as well. So that's awesome. But then now that's officially it for everything from Criterion from January. So that is it also for me here on Chasing Labels, Spine number, episode number 176. There are some things that are coming on the way here for Chasing Labels. Tomorrow, Steven and I will be doing a review. Here's a little sneak preview. We will be doing a review of some Criterion titles that just came out during the month of October. I will be doing a review of Nightmare Alley, the Guillermo del Toro film that's got a 4K UHD release. Stephen and I, will be doing A History of Violence, which got a 4K UHD release, and Altered States, which also got a 4K UHD release from Criterion during October. So that review will be shot tomorrow and probably up around the same time. So take a look out for that. We also will be doing a new episode of the Unwatched Pile this Thursday, October 30th. I still have to pick out a movie to watch for that because I don't know what I'm going to watch. I've been so preoccupied with doing stuff here for Chasing Labels that I didn't even have time to think of a movie to watch. So we shall see. But that is what is upcoming. The Criterion October titles review, as well as the Unwatched Pile. Recently, we did a new episode of Movies Down Memory Lane with our friend Dan Skip Allen, which we talked about The Empire Strikes Back, the best Star Wars movie ever made, according to everyone, of course. But some other stuff also. We have merch up on our shop on Etsy. If you go to Etsy.com and look up Chasing Labels, you will see our t-shirts pop up. And then you can click on them, and you can click on our shop, which is B-Roll Bandits. And B-Roll Bandits, where we have not only t-shirts, but we have other things that have to do with Chasing Labels, as well as movie-related items too. So check that out. And of course, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. You can find this wherever audio podcasts can be found: Apple Podcast, Google. You can find the live stream here on YouTube. Go under, I think you have to look under the live stream, the live tab under the videos or whatnot to check it out. There is, of course, an audio version of the show here as well. Check that out if you're not into looking at me for 3 to 4 hours every 2 weeks. Do whatever you want. Either way, we take all the support. Check out what else we've got here going on at Chasing Labels. So, once again, keep on watching those movies because I know I will.